Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mrs. Madiker?
Here.
Mr. Shi?
Here.
Mrs. Peng?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Here.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Here.
Mr. Rivera?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Opening statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of these notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger on January 4th and March 3rd, 2022. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. Thank you so much. Tonight's very special. We're starting our meeting tonight with a very, very special presentation to honor Dr. Joan Valentine from John Adams Middle School. And I'd like to turn the programming, if you will, over to Lieutenant Todd Pagel.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Todd Pagel. I'm a Coast Guard reservist, and I've also been serving in the Edison Public Schools since 2010 at the high school with Mr. Ross, who's here. It's good to see him. Hoover, and then John Adams. Thank you all for allowing me to come tonight to speak to the board, to express my deepest thanks to Dr. Valentine, Mrs. Marasco, who can't be here this evening, Dr. Bragan, the board, and then all my teachers as well. The last couple years, I've been mobilized in support of a variety of Coast Guard missions at Sector New York, where I'm currently at now, doing Operation Allies Welcome, where I was helping resettle Afghan refugees to the hurricane in Louisiana. And this entire time, Dr. Valentine, Mrs. Marasco, the board has been very supportive, constantly texting me, seeing how I was, seeing how my family was, and we couldn't thank them enough for all of that. I'm extremely honored tonight to have in attendance with me. This is really, really special to have some great representatives from Coast Guard Sector New York here this evening to speak to you. We have our sector commander, Captain Zita Merchant, who's the captain of the ports of New York and New Jersey. Our command master chief is here. My boss, Lieutenant Raz, and then we also have someone else coming in a little bit, as well as Mr. Henry, our public affairs officer, who you see there. It's really special for them to be here because I've been with them for the past couple years, and they have been so supportive of me and my reserve career as well as my education career. So let me just introduce Captain Merchant, who's just one of the most phenomenal people you'll ever get to meet. Very thankful that she's here this evening. She assumed command of Sector New York during almost the height of the pandemic in May of 2021. She's responsible for ensuring safety and security of one of the nation's busiest ports and the most economically important port complexes in the United States. Sector New York areas of responsibility spans over 6,000 miles and includes facilities and waterways that move hundreds of billions of dollars of cargo and tens of millions of passengers annually. Prior to joining Sector New York as a deputy sector commander in 2020, she was a national security fellow at Harvard University Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. Captain Merchant has been a huge supporter of myself and the other 200 reservists at Sector New York, and I can't thank her enough for her time this evening. Captain, thank you.
All right, I got a little nervous there. I thought he was going to read my whole bio. But it's truly an honor to be here with you tonight. Thank you to the superintendent, board president, and a shout out early to Dr. Valentine, and just the support that you all continuously to give us, the Coast Guard, and I know the military as a whole. Lieutenant Pagel, or as you all know, Mr. Pagel, has dedicated a lot of time to us. And often you see a person in uniform like myself, served over 25 years in the military, full-time active duty, and you think that every person is that active duty full-time person, but that's not always the case. We have reservists. We have over 1 million people serving in the reserves day in, day out, and what I call double duty. And to me, sometimes that's even harder than what we do every day, because you have a full-time job similar to what Mr. Pagel has here, but at the same time, you continue to get pulled from the military side to serve your country. And I understand it's a sacrifice. Signing up for the military is the sacrifice, but what's also a sacrifice is what you all do every day, and I understand that from Dr. Valentine. It's hard not having him in the classroom, and we understand that, but also understand that he is serving his country. He is putting truly service before self, and I love to see the fact that he's working in the public school system. That is service into itself. So thank you for your service, and thank you for allowing him to continue to serve with us. But tonight is not about Mr. Pagel. It is about Dr. Valentine and the people in this room that continues to give their support to the military. And the key piece here is it's from the top down, and I know that because as the commander of over 1,000 people at Sector New York, I have to set a tone. And the superintendent has set a tone to allow Mr. Pagel to be released to us. And that service is one of those that we are tremendously thankful for and want to highlight tonight. And again, it's not just about the superintendent, it's about everyone that's in between that is allowing this to happen and allowing this service to happen. Service like deploying to Hurricane Ida. Again, service before self. Service to Allies Welcome. Again, service before self. And so thank you for allowing that to happen here. And at this point in time, I would like to invite Dr. Valentine forward to receive the award on behalf of the school district and behalf of the whole board here. Dr. Valentine, can I have you here? And I'll read the award, and it states, Office of Secretary of Defense, Employee Support of the Guard and Reserve, recognize Joan Valentine of John Adams Middle School as a patriotic employer for contributing to national security and protecting liberties and freedom by supporting employee participation in America's National Guard and Reserve Force. All right, okay. And in addition to the award, I would also like to present Dr. Valentine by Command Coin. So this is not only on behalf of me, but on behalf of my Command Master Chief and the entire workforce of Sector New York. It's Say Forward. So we talk about forward with our mission, people, and partnerships. And this is a partnership that we have with the school system, and we thank you for being partners and allowing your members to continue to serve.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right. Superintendent, I have one for you. Board President, I have one for you. Again, thank you for allowing us to be here, and thank you for your continued support to the military.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this tremendous honor and recognition. I accept this on behalf of the John Adams Middle School community, as it truly has been a team effort. I am so grateful for the amazing students, parents, teachers, substitute teachers, and support staff who have played and continue to play a pivotal role in collaborating, communicating, problem-solving, teaching, and awaiting the safe return of Lieutenant Pagel to the classroom. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. Great way to start our meeting tonight. And now we're going to go on to the business at hand, which is our preliminary budget. Dr. Bragan, our budget chair, Mr. Biral Patel.
Thank you, President. So as everyone will see here shortly, you will see the school tax levy in the preliminary budget for the year 22-23 will be reflect a true 0% tax increase. Now, this must be a relief and a welcoming news for many Edison taxpayers. That includes myself. This budget includes the district's plan for the full-day kindergarten starting this September. Now, there is a funding also included for the capital projects, and there is 0% budget increase from last year, and there is capital savings from last year, so that gives a whole lot of allocation to the capital funding in this budget from last year and for the new year, which allows the BOE Committee of the Whole, the Facilities Improvement Committee, to work taking towards steps to resolve the overcrowding crisis. Now, the 0% tax increase, which you will see shortly for the new school year, implementation of offering of the district's offering of the full-day kindergarten, and taking steps towards resolving overcrowding as a committee of the whole. This is considered an optimal performance for the district, and this may be perhaps unprecedented and historical. Budget does play a very important role in this, and this is a preliminary budget which is going to be presented to the board today, and if it's all approved in May and finalized, then we are hopeful that all these goals for the district can be met for the next school year. This, however, would not have been possible without help of so many. One of that is prior board members who worked with the state leadership on the state funding formula for a few years. Thanks to some of those members. I would like to thank Assemblyman Robert Karvinchak. I reached out to Assemblyman Karvinchak to help the district with the state funding, and Assemblyman Karvinchak not only delivered, but he over-delivered on his promise. Assemblyman Robert Karvinchak helped the district last year when we had a 0% budget increase, and Assemblyman Karvinchak this year also helped deliver extra state aid so that we can be where we are. I would like to thank the local, county, and state leadership for getting us this extra state aid, including Governor Murphy, who just was at James Monroe before a couple of weeks, who announced the extra state aid for the district. Township Mayor Sam Joshi, who worked on getting us the extra state aid, who works in collaboration with BOE President Doug Schneider for this extra state aid. Now, speaking of BOE President Doug Schneider, we are talking about the implementation of full-day kindergarten, the possibly working as a committee of the whole on resolving the overcrowding crisis, the 0% tax increase. I would say this gentleman, Doug Schneider, he puts 40 hours every week on working on the BOE matters as a board member and as a board president. He works so hard, and that's one of the reasons probably we are seeing all of these wonderful things coming together this year. Thank you, Doug. I would also like to thank the leadership across the town, county, and the state, but a huge thank goes to my budget planning and oversight committee members. Jerry Shee, thank you, and Brian Rivera, thank you. Thanks to both of you for working hard and working as a team for delivering this 0% tax increase for the taxpayers. And lastly, kudos, huge thanks to Superintendent Dr. Bregan. Dr. Bregan, you did this last year, you did this again, 2 years in a row. That's unprecedented, that's historical. This could not have been achieved without hard work and efforts and persistent efforts that Dr. Bregan puts into this every single day. Mrs. Ann Clark, thank you so much for all of your efforts in putting this 0% budget increase together. Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone. And that being said, I would not speak further and give it to the man of the hour, Dr. Bregan, to present this wonderful news in terms of numbers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Committee Chair Bureau Patel. Hard to follow that act, but I'll do my best. This is the public hearing where we share with the Board of Education, and we look to get a vote on what our numbers would be for the local tax levy, as well as we go over some of our state aid and our federal aid numbers, so we have a pretty good idea on what the budget is. It's a preliminary hearing. When this budget hopefully is approved tonight, to move forward to we submit it to the county office and gets approved there. And then at that point, we'll put a user-friendly budget on the website for the public to review and go over and assess any concerns or questions they may have. And then, as you can see, the public adoption, where we do a formal presentation of all the things that are contained within this budget, and we go over all the numbers again. Hopefully, it'll be finalized and approved as is. And that's when we would entertain real questions from the public after they've had a chance to digest exactly what it is. So at this point, it's really just to look at the numbers, and that may be small for people to look at. It's on the agenda. But on the screen, basically, the entire budget is $300,461,684. The number that really matters there's two that should stand out. It's the state aid, which has gone up $11.8 million this year. As Mr. Patel had stated, that brings us almost to full adequacy, which using the new S2F funding formula. They've been talking about that for several years and trying to tie the funding to your actual enrollment numbers. And as everybody knows, it's been mentioned for some years now, and obviously before I got here, our enrollment has been on the upswing for a number of years now. So we're finally catching up with that, and the state is providing the support to go along with that number of students. So with that, I'm sorry, I went too fast there. The other important number is what would be our local tax levy. And as Mr. Biro Patel stated, the tax levy this year is going to be the same as it was last year, which is the same as it was the year before, $235,013,168. And I think that is a significant commitment on this Board of Education and the former boards of education to take the state aid monies and put it for what its intended use was, which was to provide tax relief to our community. So, budgets go up, salaries go up, we need new staff. We're putting an addition on Lincoln School. It wouldn't be prudent to have an additional 10 classrooms without staffing, right? Additional cleaning, and things continue to go up. As you know, in the real world, everything goes up. The price of gas, the price of food, the price of milk, and everything else. That's the same for us as well. However, this board, under the direction of the Budget Planning and Oversight Committee, was dedicated to keeping those costs within that state aid increases that enable us to come to this budget today and present these numbers to you for the board for review, and hopefully after that approval to submit it to the county. Again, the local tax levy is the big number. That's at zero. You can see our increases in other revenues, which is the state aid, and we've also budgeted a greater increase in our extraordinary aid for special education relief. That brings the increase in other revenues outside the tax levy to about $14,800,000, which is what the budget had gone up from last year at about $285 million. And those are the breakdowns of the numbers. You could see that there, and the estimated tax bill is actually down $23 from the previous year. And typically, even though we went at a zero last year, the tax bill still went up because the fiscal year for the school district is different what the township is, and it's half of one year against half of another year with the township's budget. And that's all I have to present on that. I'll give it back to Board President, Mr. Schneider.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patel. Thank you, Dr. Bragan. We're going to move to public comments about the preliminary budget only, the 2022-2023 preliminary budget only public comments. Any? Anyone on the board want to provide a motion to approve this preliminary budget to be sent to the county?
Motion.
Ms. Madiger, motion. Any seconds?
Second.
Mr. Patel, second. Mr. Biro Patel, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried.
Great.
Well, President, can I have
Yes,
a
Mr. Shi.
quick comment?
Yes.
So just to let folks aware, this is a preliminary budget. So if any board members or anybody sees there's anything we can possibly still change, is that correct, Dr. Bragan? Okay.
That's correct.
And just want to look at its very simple calculation. If you look at the tax levy divided by total budget, you will find out this is the first time the contribution from the taxpayers dropped below 80%. This is a great achievement. If you look at it, a lot of the other districts, it's somewhere around 82, 85%. This is the very first time it dropped below 80. So it's a great relief to all the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. Anyone else? I'd like to move to public comment on resolutions only. Public comment on any resolutions. Yes, Mr. Revnak. You have 6 minutes, sir. You know, Mr. Revnak, if you don't mind,
Sure,
I have a little note I'd like to read,
sure, absolutely.
and I seem to always forget to do this, and I apologize.
That's okay, I've seen it happen before.
All speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others whose legal rights may be affected. Please note, while it is not the board's intention to stifle comment on matters of legitimate concern to the school community, the public should be aware that if their statements violate the rights of others under the law governing defamation or invasion of privacy, they may face personal liability to the injured party. If speakers are uncertain of the legal ramifications of their comments, the board urges them to seek guidance beforehand from their own legal advisor. Mr. Revnak, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
It's okay, good evening, everyone. I came here today standing up first to represent and basically pitch off to the science teachers that are sitting behind me. At the last board meeting, Mr. Rivera gave a report on the curriculum committee, and there were a couple statements that were made in it that were not necessarily factual. In fact, I think he was shocked. I don't want to speak for him, but when I spoke to him after the meeting, changes to the biology labs and elimination of the lab period was stated that there was a committee of teachers that were formed, and that basically the teachers were on board with it, and that was not true. There was no committee of teachers, and the teachers are not on board with it. One of the reasons why you have a bunch of science teachers sitting here that are going to get up and speak as well. I know there was a letter sent to the board members, Dr. Bragan, I believe Ms. Polakowski was on there, as well as myself and Mr. Bowden from the association. So they'd like to get up and speak to you, voicing their concerns over the changes, you know, and give their point of view as you know, teachers and staff, you know, basically advocating for their students. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to defer to whoever would like to get up and speak.
Thank you, Mr. Revnak. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Brian Bigelow. I teach biology here at JP Stevens. I teach honors and level 2 in-class resource sections, and I've done so for the past 9 years. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address comments made during the February 15, 2022 meeting regarding biology's future in Edison schools. During that meeting, the curriculum committee reported several proposed changes to the district curriculum, including changing high school biology classes from meeting 6 periods a week to meeting 5 periods a week. The proposed removal of 1 double lab period a week was justified with 3 points. Firstly, this change is needed to deal with the overcrowding in the district. Dr. Bragan explained, quote, "These are some of the logistical concerns we have to deal with when we have a building that has 2,700 students that was built for 1,800 students," close quote. I and other high school biology teachers in this district completely agree with this. Anyone who has walked in the halls of either high school between classes knows how much space is at a premium. When this change was first presented to us, it was set up as a necessary evil. As such, we were prepared to deal with it, despite needing to change nearly every part of our plans. These labs are integrated into our instruction. So if labs aren't done, then quizzes, tests, notes, slides, and other assignments must change as well. But if we had no other option, then we were ready. Again, from Dr. Bragan, quote, "Sometimes it's a choice between the 2 worst options," close quote. If it were these comments alone that were the justification for this change, I would not be here tonight. The curriculum report further explains the advantages of removing the biology lab period. As explained by Mr. Rivera, removing the extra lab period, quote, "opened up our science labs for additional science classes to be offered, AP classes to be offered. We just found space and time to offer more classes and sciences to our kids." This justification is a glaring example of purposeful inequity being grown from inside of our district. Sacrificing lab for our freshman students so that high-performing juniors and seniors can get extra sciences on their transcript is disrespectful to so many hardworking underclassmen, especially considering that some of these students, including many of our level 1 and level 2 students, may never get another life science class again at here. I currently teach 3 sections of level 2 biology, 2 of those being in-class resource sections along with a cooperating teacher. These students are often the most excited for and learn the most from the hands-on lab exercises we are able to complete during the double lab. Sacrificing biology labs to expand AP options only expands the opportunity gap in this district. I am here to stand up for these students. Removing labs for students with already limited opportunities so that another student can add a third or fourth AP class to their schedule is inequity at its most obvious. Finally, the removal of this lab period was framed as an idea that came forth from us, teachers in the classroom. Again, Mr. Rivera, quote, "They're finding out the time is not being used for lab. Lab can be completed in one period. It's coming from the ground, it's coming from the instructional staff, it's coming from the teachers," close quote. I think it's clear from what I said so far that this instructional staff did not supply these ideas to the district. Collectively, we were informed that this was happening and that it was final. Instructionally speaking, losing 16% of class time with our students has no other conclusion than reduced scope or reduced depth of instruction. Hard work, planning, and professional development will not make up for this loss. The good news is that this district is full of excellent science teachers, hardworking teachers in this building and across town that work not so tirelessly to deliver high quality, practical, real world, relatable, engaging, challenging, and illuminating lessons. If we have to lose this lab, we eagerly anticipate a solution to our overcrowding emergency and a return to normalcy as soon as possible. I care deeply for my students, especially because many times adults will not defend them from the attacks that these students don't see coming. I will not sit by and let others speak for them or myself. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Sure. Mr. Bigelow, I want to thank you for taking the time to share, your thoughts, and I appreciate your commitment and your passion for your students. It's obvious. As well, if I could just comment on a few things that you said. I too believe we have some of the hardest working people on the planet working in our district, not just our science department, but everywhere. And their commitment to our children, especially over these last couple of years, is laudable. So I support you on that. We are overcrowded. And I must say, you got my quotes exactly right, so I appreciate that. And sometimes we're forced to make the best of bad situation, right? And there's no good choice. I would love to have enough classrooms for everybody. We have a larger incoming class this year in freshmen, and they're going to continue to be at that number or larger, and we just don't have the available space to keep up what we're doing. But you have my commitment, and I believe the board, the members that I spoke to. We have a plan. We're going to try to get that additional classroom space. It's not going to happen by September, right? Because nothing can be built that quickly. But as soon as we can, some of these things, constituent plans that we made in the interim will be addressed, and they will be changed because we do value it. And you're looking at somebody who understands education, understands teaching, and the single greatest indicator of performance and achievement is time on task. We don't want to reduce that. We do that at the minimal cost when we can. And we recognize that the less time you're focused on anything, whatever that may be, especially in the sciences, in the biological fields as well as in the physical sciences, it impacts. We get that. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming up here and speaking on behalf of the kids because our children need advocates like you. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bragan. Yes.
All right, good evening. My name is Christy Gesualdo, and not only am I an Edison parent, but I'm also a teacher in the district. I was here several years back when this biology modification was presented to the board the first time. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. I know you all received the email sent on behalf of the science teachers regarding statements made at the February 15th board meeting regarding dropping the 6th period of biology. I would like to add a few items to what Mr. Bigelow said. I'm going to date myself here, but I have been teaching at J.P. Stevens since 2002. I currently teach both honors biology and anatomy and physiology. Honors biology has the 6th period, but A&P is only a 5-period course, so I am forced to perform labs and dissect in a single period there. I see many things teaching both of these two courses. To begin with, we as freshman teachers have been the proverbial punching bags. If the freshmen don't do well, it is our fault in the parents' eyes. You, Mr. Rivera, mentioned screenshots from the WhatsApp at the last meeting. I'm sure a lot of those complaints come regarding the freshman courses. Can I blame those parents? Absolutely not. Their children are coming from an unleveled science course into, in my case, the highest level biology. We do not retest, do not offer extra credit, and expect a lot of independent studying due to the pace of the course. Honors biology grades in high school are weighted at 40% tests, 30% labs, practicals, projects, 20% quizzes, and 10% quarterlies. There is no classwork homework grades in honors biology. As you can see based on these numbers, a student who may not be the best test taker might rely more on the lab category because it is an experience that is both relatable and memorable, which will help on both tests and quizzes. I don't know a single teacher who doesn't utilize the double lab period. They may not all be wet labs, but these periods are used for meaningful, reinforcing activities to give students a connection to topics they otherwise might not relate. As freshman biology teachers, we have a lot on our plate because we not only have to teach these young people how to study while covering our material, but we also have to do a lot of the legwork to get them prepared for the next school year where they have chemistry labs. Taking away the lab experience from every freshman student, leaving them with possibly only 1 year of lab in chemistry, is not the answer. And as it was explained to us teachers, this influx of students would require you to do the same to chemistry labs next year. Next, at the February 15th board meeting, it was mentioned numerous times that at the virtual curriculum meeting on February 3rd, there were passionate conversations with fellow educators. It wasn't mentioned what educators were there and if there were any current educators at that virtual meeting. I'm not sure if anyone took into consideration discussing the past year with virtual labs and how ineffective they were for the students. We teachers can clearly attest to how far behind our students were coming into the 2021-2022 school year. If you remove our 6th period and expect us to cover both the curriculum and labs in only 5 periods, students are going to lose. They will miss out on the valuable lab experience, and many teachers will be forced to offer independent virtual labs with most likely poor results. By removing the 6th period, we are losing at least 4 lab periods a month for an entire school year. If you do the math, this is at least 40 class periods, and we are expected to cover the same curriculum and perform labs in a subject that is already pressed for time. How do you expect us to do this without losing many students in the process and causing unnecessary pressure and stress on already stressed students? This, as mentioned before, would definitely hurt the students who rely on labs to help understand and connect to the difficult concepts. It was also mentioned at the February 15th board meeting that other districts were contacted and that biology is being done in 4 days with the lab the 5th day. It wasn't mentioned which districts were contacted and if they were comparable academically to our district. Also, I do schedule labs in my single period anatomy classes. I have both juniors and seniors, and it's a huge challenge to set up, perform, and clean up in a single class period. These are students who have already taken lab sciences. This isn't their first rodeo, but it's still a struggle. Each class is different, and adjustments are made constantly to ensure they still benefit from the experience. Sometimes labs have to be performed over several days in order to complete. This is absolutely not going to be possible in the biology class if we are forced to try to squeeze in a lab here and there. Our question is, what classes are you putting in to replace the laboratory classes you are planning on removing? From my understanding, there are only about an additional 50 to 60 students coming into JP next fall compared to the current freshman numbers. If these numbers are accurate, that would mean there are only 2 additional sections needed. Removing an entire lab for the entire freshman classes doesn't make sense to us. Did you look at the double labs for the AP electives? Currently, we have about 9 AP classes with double labs. If you remove one of the 2 labs from the AP classes, would that help provide the 2 sections needed? Sacrificing the lab experience for freshmen who all have to take the course should not be replaced by adding more elective classes that benefit a fraction of the population. The lab experience in biology slowly introduces them and teaches them valuable skills that allow them to safely perform and learn in the labs of other subjects. We help them develop into the high school science students so they go into chemistry and other electives with the confidence that they need to focus on their studies. They have already learned their fine motor lab skills, if you will, with us. This decision doesn't just impact biology. You are effectively deciding changes that will affect all the other science courses. Mr. Rivera, you stated at the February 15th board meeting that we should not be dealing with the day-to-day operations of the school district. These labs are our day-to-day operations. We make and modify to accommodate our students. But here we are, in front of you all, the board, who have the power to eliminate our labs. Please reconsider eliminating the biology lab for the freshman class. They deserve better. We understand and appreciate that this is a significant problem that you are trying to fix. We agree that we do have an overcrowding issue in our district, especially at JP, but this decision to remove the lab and additional time is the domino effect that will have lasting repercussions for hundreds of kids for years. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gesualdo. I just wanted to add something. There's very few, I guess there's probably one person up here who handles things like scheduling. Our board is fully committed to the infrastructure plan that hopefully, I guess if you tune in next Wednesday at the Committee of the Whole, we're going to be talking about our short and long-term infrastructure plan that Dr. Bragan is putting together. What I will tell you is you have unanimous support on this dais for classrooms at J.P. Stevens. If that's not the first thing that's on our plan, we failed. Okay, because we need it. Why do we need more classrooms? Because of conversations like this we're having tonight. And we talk about a lot of things that we cannot, ethically, unethically, whatever, things that the board members can weigh in on. What I could tell you is that, without a doubt, we can build more classrooms. That's what we can do. So with this program of studies, which is what we're approving tonight, which is what everybody's talking about, why it applies to this, in approving it, it's a short-lived approval. That if this is what's happening and the passion is there and we're advocating for the students, obviously this isn't an ideal situation. We need more classrooms, and we can help you with that. We just talked about our budget. We have unanimous support. Everyone here wants more space at J.P. Stevens, and that is what we're going to hopefully control. Anything to add?
Yeah, just a few things.
President,
I'm sorry.
Yes, Ms. Peng.
Make a comment? Yes, I just want to ask the curriculum committee, because when I first heard about this biology lab cut, I was informed that, yeah, it's overcrowding, we have too many students, not enough classroom. Do we actually look at the numbers of the incoming freshmen? This is a question to the curriculum committee. Is there really an increase for the numbers?
Well, I think Dr.
Yes.
Okay, from the number I got, because we got an enrollment number every meeting, JP Stevens has about 50 more incoming freshmen. Edison High actually have 70 less incoming freshmen. So I don't know if this cut is across the board. First of all, from what I heard, JP Stevens should be able to accommodate 2 more classes. Second of all, if this is across the board cut, why would Edison High make the sacrifice for the overcrowding situation at JP? This is my question. Hopefully the curriculum committee can answer this.
I could speak to the logistics involved because that's not a curriculum committee decision. You know, the numbers at both high schools are higher than what they've been and higher what the schools are made for. And there's classroom spaces at a premium. It's much tighter at John P. Stevens High School than Edison High School. And, you know, some of these decisions are made in order to accommodate, you know, that space. The bottom line is we don't have enough classroom space. And I hear, Ms. Gesualdo, you made a comment about, you know, you feel old because you've been here since 2002. I feel older because I think I observed you in 2003 when I was an administrator here. But I remember you, and I remember you for a lot of reasons. One was the passion you had for the kids and for the students and for your subject. And that's why you're still here this many years later doing what you do, right? And I applaud that. It comes through in what you're saying. And, you know, to hear people at this meeting right now, our teachers, our instructional staff, advocating for some of the students that maybe aren't taking the most advanced placement course offerings or the highest level courses, that resonates with me. I spent my career as a teacher for students with special needs, and I tried my entire career to level the playing field to give them the support. So despite what you hear, perspectives maybe going on back and forth, and some things that may have been taken out of context or not, I can't speak for anybody else at a board meeting. You have my personal commitment as superintendent and our team to do everything we can to keep it as robust as possible. And if there are some shortcomings that need to take place in the short run, I guarantee you, as God is my witness, we will do what we can as soon as we have the capacity to expand and bring everything back to what it is and make it even more robust. And I think I have the commitment of the board on that as well, as you heard Board President Schneider talk about the commitment to building. So I get it, and we're going to do what we can to help support everyone.
Board President.
Thank you.
Can I add something, Doug?
Yes, Ms. Madiger, and then...
So I just want to add that, this is just getting worse and worse day by day, and we really need to have some very quick short-term solutions. I know that last year we cut one lab of physics. This year, one lab of biology is going. So this is really kind of cutting through the flesh, hitting, our bone now, and we just want to make sure that this is like just very, very short term, and we are able to quickly figure out and that we already can see light at the end of the tunnel. We don't want this to be, just continuing like this. We just need a solution now so that children are not shortchanged and teachers can do their jobs well. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Board
Mr.
Vice
Patel.
President, Can I ask? I'm still so confused because obviously last year we can handle these many students. I see the solution, but I don't see the justification for this solution, the cutting the lab. If last year we can handle these many students with 2 lab sessions, this year with only 50 students more, and Edison High with 70 students less, what is the reason that we cannot handle this, and what do we actually benefit from cutting the lab session? What do we get more out of it? You said there's emergency, there's an overcrowding, but what exactly is the problem here that's different from last year?
We're focusing on the freshman class. What we're not focusing on is every year we're graduating for the next 3 years, smaller classes than are coming in. It adds to the entire overcrowding in the building. We're talking about 50, 60 students. Overall, we're talking about hundreds of students across the entire building, which is the limited capacity of the classrooms that we have. It's not just one grade level. We're graduating classes across both high schools, 1,200, 1,250, and we're bringing in classes at 1,350, 1,400. The capacity is not there. This isn't made up. We're not trying to do anything to hurt our science teachers, our science students. We're not. And when we can fix it and give everybody exactly what they're entitled to and what we can, we will. If somebody wants to sit down and talk at some point with me privately and go over the numbers, I'll be more than happy to share all those numbers with everyone.
Board President.
Mr.
if I may.
Patel.
Okay. I do understand if there is an overcrowding issue here, but I don't believe that we should be cutting labs at this point in time when it's basically the wings for these freshman students. They're basically getting into the program, they're learning the basics, and then they're moving on to higher sciences. It's very important that we don't cut their wings when they're actually learning to fly, because that's not excellence. And what I suggest that we do is we table this portion on our board in regards to pushing forward this program until we look at it a little further and find other solutions rather than cutting a lab. Because it's not right, it doesn't serve the purpose of what the students need, and cutting them from the education that they really need, which is the practical knowledge. They get the book knowledge, absolutely, but the practical knowledge where they're doing the dissections, and those labs that you cut are basically going to impact everything else that goes forward for those students, and I don't believe that we should be doing that at this moment. So my suggestion is we table that section for the curriculum programming for the time being and come back with another resolution where it would actually benefit our students rather than hurt them. Thank you.
Board President.
Yes, Mr. Shi.
Just want to look at some numbers here. I asked this enrollment number to be breakdown by the grades, so for other purposes, but it's good to use for this one. At Edison High School, we have 639 students at the end of last month who are ninth grade, 639. And I'm looking at the 8th graders from Herbert Hoover and TJ. Herbert Hoover has 307, TJ has 262. So the total combined, the students who are coming into Edison High is 569. There's 70 students less than what we have currently in the 9th grade. Let's look at J.P. Stevens. J.P. Stevens, at the end of last month, has 676 ninth graders, 676. And for the students coming from Adams, 326. And the students, 8th graders in Woodrow Wilson, 407. 326. So total number, 732. So the net increase, the students coming from on the north side to JP is 56 students. So I just want to tag on what Mrs. Pan said. I do understand the rationale about the overcrowding, but the number does not justify cutting the lab. How can we accommodate 70 more students right now in Edison High School, and next year we cannot accommodate the students coming up from TJ and Herbert Hoover? Yes, on JP we have 56 students more. That's probably 2 classes, and I think we can accommodate this. So I do not think the plan has been really vetted well. I like our curriculum committee and the administration to look into this again. There was discussions about adding AP classes and so on, but studies, I see no AP classes being added. So reducing the lab, I don't see the reason why. And last time we cut the lab for AP physics, as one of the teachers said. A lot of students taking the AP, the percentage is very small. And this biology applies to everybody to the entire freshman class. And we have been, advertising our school district as one of the high-performing school districts. And I don't know which other school district we're comparing. I contact people on Princeton, the West Windsor Plansboro School District, and I spoke to students at the Short Hill and Milburn School District. They all have 2 lab periods. We are competing with those school districts. And, everyone knows that when you have these labs, it's a hands-on. You have a lot of classroom teaching and stuff, and when it comes to the lab, it's a fun part. You practice whatever you learn in the classroom, you go to the lab, it's easier for you to remember, and rather than just looking at a picture on a cell, on a book. So especially, I would say for some of the special needs students, it's an additional plus to them to have the hands-on in the lab, to learn the subject. So to cut the lab from 2 periods to 1, with some of the schools that's with less students coming in, I don't see the justification. So I will second the motion from Mr. Patel to table the program of studies for now, and let's have a discussion, and let's do it next time.
I'd like to be on the record, I disagree with that. I think that it's not a good use of our board's time to question our administration. I see a bunch of administrators sitting over there, and I believe that they've analyzed this. This is not the first time they're hearing these numbers. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm new here. Is this the first time that we're dissecting the amount of enrolled students at each middle school and going into the high school? I can't imagine it is. So, with that said, it's our job to put more classrooms up.
Board President?
In these schools, excuse me. So it's our role as a board to provide policy framework, make sure that our administrators are working in a manner, they have our support, we question, we provide questions, we get information, and by the way, we report out in these minutes what's going on. And you'll see that the minutes were very detailed, some of the things not everybody wanted to hear, but it's the truth of what was going on. And I assume, Dr. Bragan, I hope that your team thought long and hard about how these additional enrolled students are going to affect, or maybe if the numbers went down a little bit, whatever the case is, but I'm sure you've thought about all this. Is that correct?
Yeah, and as I said, it's correct, and the capacity is an issue. It's an issue at both buildings. And to talk singularly about incoming classes is a little bit myopic, because it's the overall classes in the building. And it's the 7th grade, it's the 8th grade, but it's the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. We're graduating smaller classes at both high schools. Every year, we're increasing the number of students in the overall building, which doesn't always impact every year exactly the same number of freshmen. But the capacity of the building in the rooms, they haven't built any additional classrooms on either high school in some time, and we need to. And that's really the solution.
From my viewpoint, as I approve this, as I vote to approve it, I'm approving it on the record saying this has to be short-term, and that we as a board need to provide more infrastructure for our students to learn.
I just have a question.
Yes, Ms. Madiger.
Dr. Bragan, are we voting on reducing the labs? Because there is nothing that I saw in the program of studies which says that we are voting on, because I don't think, I didn't see it anywhere.
Well, President?
The program of
Excuse me.
studies says the classes, it doesn't delineate the
The
lab.
program of study basically talks about, what the curriculum is all about, and I didn't see anything, so I'm not sure. I didn't know that we were supposed to vote on reducing
If you are,
I'm just looking for clarification.
Well,
if you
Vice
look at
President,
the
if we
program
actually...
study.
Yes.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Mr. Shi.
Well, Vice President, with all due respect, if you look at the program of studies, if you look at the graduation requirements from science, it's been reduced from 17 to 16 credit hours.
The requirement is 15, isn't it?
I saw that, yeah.
That 1 hour reduction is a direct impact from the reduction of
Correct,
the
that's
from the biology lab. And just to add on the overall enrollment, I'm looking at the enrollment, the kids who are graduating in the 12th grade versus the kids who are coming in to the 9th grade, from the 8th grade that's coming in. Edison High, we have 518 12th graders. And in the coming new year, there are 569, as I quoted, right? So that's the difference of 51 students, okay? And for J.P. Stevens, we have 642 12th graders, 642. And the incoming students to J.P. Stevens is 732, the numbers that I just quoted before. So it's a net increase of 90. So yeah, the entire school population is increased, but we're talking about the labs, the impact on biology. The impact of biology for Edison High is 70 less student, and for J.P. Stevens, 56 net increase. So there's the motions on the table to approve table the program studies. There's a Mr. Patel motion first. I second. So I hope we need to have a roll call.
Just a point.
Mr. Rubin.
Yeah, a point of order. My understanding is we've not gotten to there's no motion yet to be tabled. My understanding is under parliamentary procedure. First of all, under our board policy, the agenda is developed by the board president, board secretary, school business administrator. If they choose to withdraw an item onto agenda so that there's nothing even to move, that's one thing. If they stand firm that remains on the agenda, then we hold our breath to wait to see if somebody wants to make a motion to move that motion.
I'll have a motion to table the program.
Excuse me, Mr. Shi, let Mr. Rubin talk.
Thank you. If and when somebody makes a motion to move whatever it is that Mr. Shi would like to table, then a motion to table is in order, takes precedence over everything else, would then be voted on at that time.
Now, just to be clear, the AP biology description,
No, but
it's not
I'm sorry, the
regular
biology, I'm reading it. But what exactly are you trying to table? The entire program of studies for one credit?
Yes.
That's one credit, it's going to impact every new freshman.
Exactly.
How, are the credits based on the rigor of the academics, or is it based on hours spent?
Hours spent.
Hours spent. Okay.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Board, I second that motion to table that part of the
I think there are
program.
still public comments.
Excuse me, Mr. Rubin. Excuse me, order, please.
What I indicated was that,
Order, please.
what I indicated was that a motion to table is not in order until there is a motion on the table to table. There's been no motion made yet to move any of these items. If and when there is, a motion to table would be in order. It would take precedence over any other business at that point and would be voted on. So my point being that a motion to table would be entirely appropriate if and when there's a motion on the table that is moved to do that which Mr. Shi would like to table. There's nothing to table at the moment.
But we are on the resolutions, right? Okay, all right.
It's up to you. I think it's on
Keep the
resolution. It's on
public comments,
resolutions.
but the motion's still on the table.
Okay. We're going to move forward with public comment. Mr. Manesh.
Manesh Patel, 240 Walman F. Mr. Snyder, one thing I noticed in the last 20 minutes, it's a chaos here. Number one, my question straight to Dr. Bregan is, have you talked to the teachers who takes care of our kids? Because if you have done it before putting this on the agenda, none of these teachers would be crying here, what do we do with our kids? Remember, the kids cry, first parent, once it's sent to school, is their teacher. They always, we were told in our schools, your guru, meaning teacher, is your first guard. And every child look up to their teacher. And that's why they're looking for answers right now. They're looking for answers from their teachers. And I said this to you 7 or 8 months back. Anytime you do anything in this school district, please talk to your teachers, who are your first line of defense when the war comes from parents. And you have not done it, sir. You are failing right there. Please, again, put this agenda on a back hold, talk to your teachers, have a meeting. If you think there's going to be a war, I'll come with you. I told you that last time too. You need to talk to your teachers. You take 5 people. I love Ms. Gale and everyone else, but 5 people is not going to give you an answer to 50 teachers that teaches all the kids. You take it from intermediate, middle school, and high school teachers and talk to them. How does it affect them? Please. I know you guys are getting all red-faced because all of us are screaming. Teachers are asking questions. Hate to say it, but sometimes, Jerry put a good point. Table it. Talk about it. Let's do it again. Have a JP Stephen open for all parents or maybe all teachers and ask questions. Shall we do this? Just don't do it because the board wants to do it or the superintendent wants to do it. At this time, everybody's talking in the public that the superintendent is after for this, and that's what he wants. And that is giving you a bad name, sir. I hate to say it. I'll back you up wherever I need to. But right now, they are saying you the bad apple here. Okay? And that should not be the superintendent should be a person who everybody looks up to, especially the teachers. Today, teachers don't have to come here and cry like parents saying you need to do this. When I see teachers crying here, that means there is a problem. And problem is among us. Not them, not the parents, not the teachers. It's among us where the problem is. We are not doing the right job. Now we're talking about overcrowding. What the heck were you doing for the last 6 years? You've been superintendent for 2 years. What have you done to take care of this? You have not done it. And neither did Jerry. I'm telling you right now because he was in place of Doug last year or the year before. So this is an issue that you need to solve. You can't play good guy, bad guy here. You need to work for the kids. You're getting paid to work for the kids. You're not getting paid to just have show off every Tuesday, every Thursday, and go home with it. Because this has been talking about overcrowding for a long time. Since my first daughter went to school here, overcrowding started. And all 3 of my kids are gone, and still there's an overcrowding. And Jerry just said there's 60 more kids coming. Well, get a temporary one. Temporary is cheaper. You guys are spending $8 to $9 million on a BS stuff. Put a damn temporary units outside. It's a 24-hour job. If Amazon can put a damn building up in 24 hours, why can't we do it? Sorry for my language, sorry for my voice. But if Amazon can do it, we could do it. You need mayor, you need council, we'll go to them. But we need overcrowding done first before any of this nonsense you guys pull. Because it's been 7 years, 6 years, every time you come, you know what this is? This is like a Congress in my country. Poor, poor, poor. That's all they cried. And this is what you guys are doing. Only thing you have, overcrowding, and pass everything else that you want to pass. Let's get overcrowding first, and then do all these agendas. And if you guys can't do it, put another resignation. We'll get somebody else appointed there. This election is going to be a tough one, because all your questions are going to be popping up. And who's going to pick it up? I'll bet you it's Christo and Venkat. And I'll be the third one standing behind them. I just happened to see this paper, and I was shocked. Jerry's asking question. Maneshi's saying this. Am I saying anything wrong? Can I do Oprah tomorrow, Dr. Bregan? In last 6 years, how much money did you spend?
Mr. Patel, time.
I'm going to take 1 extra minute. I'll take it from next week. Take it.
You have public comment at the end of this meeting. This is only on resolutions, so you're good for now, and you have more public comment.
So, Doug,
Thank you. Ms. Madiger.
So, Dr. Reagan, just want to explore a couple of options. So, the discussions that we've had, and I know that a lot of board members are also very concerned about this period being taken away. So what I understood was that 66 students of the incoming freshman class are not going to be able to get biology because there is no space. So we need 2 additional classrooms to accommodate those students. And if we don't have those 2 additional classrooms, there will be no space for those students. So I just want to explore, can there be some temporary solution, Dr. Bregan, where, because I know that you're going to present your facilities plan at the end of this month, which has some good news, I suppose. But is there a way we could have like a temporary solution where if some trailers are not being used in some buildings, they could be brought here just for that period, the stopgap period? Is that something we can explore so that, because right now we don't have space for those 66 students?
56.
66.
Again, we're stuck on a number. It's an overall aggregate in the buildings. Can we explore moving some portables? Yeah. You know, of course we could explore that. It's not the best solution. It's really not even a good one. It's very expensive to move those portables and hook them up and get the power and whatever else has to be done there. But if that's the direction the board chooses, then we could definitely do that. But the perception shared by someone that we haven't done anything over the last 2 years is just not accurate. And to also say that we're failing because we haven't done that, that's not accurate either. And if people want to attack the superintendent for working with his team and presenting what we think is fair, then so be it. But then don't 2 weeks later tell me you support me, because that's all BS too. The way you counteract that is if you believe in the people you're leading. When you see the silliness on those WhatsApp groups and other silliness, you stand up and support them, or you just jump on the bandwagon and make the attack what it is. So that speaks to people's true colors, and I'm not going to comment on that. But when we make decisions, we try to get as much information as we can. We have 1,250 or so teachers. I cannot speak to every teacher on every decision that we make, nor is that the structure that any organization operates under, in any business, Amazon or whatever. What we do is rely on our leadership team Starts with me, goes down to the assistant supes, chief academic officers, supervisors, principals, assistant principals, and they try to gather information. Do they get every piece of information from every teacher? Probably not, because that's not always accurate. We get it from the people who solicit their opinion and share it. And that doesn't mean that we can always act on all those positions, because sometimes people say things that we're not able to do. It's unfortunate. Doesn't mean we don't like it. It doesn't mean we don't think their opinion is valued. As I said, and I think Mr. Bigelow quoted me in the beginning, sometimes we have to pick the best of worst solutions. This is not a good solution. And if you want to attack me, the superintendent, as I told Venkat a year ago, bring it on. I don't care. I'm doing what's best for kids, what I believe is what's in the best interest of this district. And I will continue to do that for as long as I sit in this seat. But I'm not going to have people attack me that I'm failing, I'm not talking to people, I come out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's the only time I'm here. Come walk a day in my shoes if you're going to make that assertion, whoever feels like making that assertion, and tell me that I'm not in the classrooms, tell me that I'm not in the buildings, tell me that we're not putting in the effort, and our entire team is trying to do what's best. This is the best of a bad situation. Take it for what it's worth. We could say it over and over again, but if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it.
Board President?
Mr. Patel.
Yes. By no means this is an attack on the superintendent or the administration. They're doing a fantastic job, and I have known for the past 2 years what Dr. Bragan is doing, and it's 100% for the kids. My only thing is this.
Excuse me. Mr. Patel,
Right.
please.
No, we're just, my only concern is that if there's any kind of possibility where we can allow for this extra lab to happen, let's explore that first before we vote on this resolution of this programming. Basically, before we do that, let's think about it first. Let's find every solution possible before we say, okay, we're going to change it to 15 credits or 16 credits, whatever it is. Thank you. And by the way, you're doing an excellent job, Dr. Bragan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. White.
Okay, a silly question maybe. I know our program of studies is excellent, but for this one little piece, is there a way of just reviewing that one piece and then, coming back to it? But the programs of studies as a whole is excellent, except we have a question on one little tiny piece of this. And I know that the superintendent has tried his very best in every which way to try and keep everything as it was. When there's just no choice and you have to make, little, I know it's a serious thing, but it's the one credit that we're trying to keep intact. But we just don't have the room, and we have to all give, a little bit. Maybe just for a short while, and I understand what you're saying. I know, and I agree with you. I read your letter twice, and I agree with every bit of it. But sometimes, you have to bend a little, or you will break. So we need to do our best, and I know it's not what we want. We do not want this. But sometimes it's just something that we have to do.
Thank you, Mrs. White. To that point, my concern is that the administration has already explored every option to keep it. So by tabling just that one part, we're delaying a decision that I would imagine was already tough. So, but if there's another way to do it, then that could be explored. That's my question, is did the administration vet this thoroughly?
I believe that we did. If the board asks us to go back and take a look, we can. My recommendation, we approve it. If there's a way to make a change, we will. You have my word on that. We'll revisit it. I don't believe there is, but we're open to suggestions and trying to get input, and if we could find the space and do something differently, we'll look into that.
Certainly, I think there's consensus that this is not an ideal situation.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Peng.
So if there's still only 56 students more, is it possible that we have a trailer, which is only probably take a month to build? And certainly for Edison High, we don't have this problem, so why would they have to suffer from this biology lab cut? Maybe we can keep Edison High as six lab session and do something at JP in the meantime. Either way, this is my other big concern is, as Manesha has said, and as this change, and the first time I heard about this change, I asked the committee, has this been discussed with the teachers? They said, yes, this is actually initiated by the teachers. But of course, as I heard today, this is not initiated by the teachers, and this was discussed at the committee meeting, but the teachers, actually in the following week, the teachers are, for the first time, hearing about this change. And I don't think that's fair, because we're asking them to make a huge change. All their lesson plan has to be changed. We're asking, this is really not fair to our teachers or to our students, who all of a sudden just lose their one lab session for their biology class, which is probably the most interesting part of the class, which is probably the most inspiring part, which is going to tremendously increase their interest in STEM. And why would this be fair just because 50 students more coming into the high school, which we can easily probably resolve? Are we actually looking at every resolution to this problem? I don't know. Do we really have no classroom at all in this building to accommodate two class, like one period? I really would like to, because 2 years or 3 years before, we had this same issue. We're cutting the lab session for environmental science. And after a certain amount of complaints, and a few weeks later, actually maybe 2 weeks later, all of a sudden then we found the classroom to accommodate those students. So I don't know if this is really history repeating again, and I hope not, but we certainly should take more look into this, because I don't want, the education is getting hurt now, right? It's our students' education, it's our teachers' job that's being impacted. And I certainly think that they should have a say in this.
I don't disagree. In answer to your question, did we explore every option? We did. Can we look at other options? Sure. But the program of studies is what it is. It was recommended. It was vetted by the team. It's what's in front of the board. If the board chooses to approve it or not approve it, that's up to them. But the number of increased students makes a difference. And no, there aren't available classrooms in this building. There aren't.
Ms. Conway.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. I just keep going over in my head, while I was on the Board of Education, each member of the board's responsibility is not to run the district, but to make sure that the district is run well. Well, I'm not on the board anymore. And the thing that keeps coming up in my mind, and what I've been hearing, and is hurtful, is that there are students coming into the high school for their first science course, and it's being cut back. They are not going to be getting the full experience of biology that other students have gotten. Edison's plight has always been nothing less than excellence. Well, I think for these students, for a short term, whether it be one class or two classes before something is done, is not going to earn that nothing less than excellence. Now, I'm really sorry that we don't have the classrooms, but it's not the students' fault. But the students are going to get the brunt of a missing lab. And if you look at the numbers of students taking biology, which is a requirement for every ninth grader, that's quite a few students that are not getting that nothing less than excellence when it comes to biology. I know you're doing everything that you possibly can, but no offense, the majority of students coming into ninth grade should get the full experience of biology. Maybe we need to look again to see where else we can cut back to account for those two classrooms. because we really need to consider it. I have full knowledge that the administration is excellent. And we've gotten to a point where, what are we supposed to do? Well, we've had how many failed referendums, how many failed plans over the years, where the administration and the boards have worked their tails off trying to do something. Over the years, we have moved in bits and pieces, but obviously those were only Band-Aids because now we're getting to a point where we're hurting students. And we need to think about how can we hurt the least amount. And I don't think the 9th grade students taking biology and only getting a single lab is the least of hurtful things. That's all I'm going to say about that. The other thing I'm getting up for is April
Remember, resolutions only, so I'm fair to everybody.
Look at your resolution.
Okay, just making sure. I can't see that far, so I don't know what your shirt says. I see Edison. That's all I see.
Autism.
Oh, okay, cool. That's a resolution. Thank you.
National Autism. I know the rules.
I know you do.
National Autism Awareness Month is coming up. And I've always been a very big proponent for special education and meeting the needs of our children. But we need to meet the needs of all our children depending on who they are and what their needs are. And I just want to read to you the last item on this resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Edison Township Board of Education continues to pledge its support to the energy and effort of staff, family, and community members who seek to ensure learning and success for our students with the autism spectrum disorders. And I'd like to praise our special ed department, Dr. Tui, for what they are doing. But at the same time, I'm going to revert back. We need to do it for all our students equally, and that's just too big a chunk of students right now that have to live with less. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. Ms. Kerstetter.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kerstetter. You're talking about overcrowding. Mr. Shi said something in February. I know he was our board president, but even before him, we had an interim, then we had Dr. O'Malley. I've been in the district for 11 years. We have pulled our son out of public school for various reasons, and kind of glad due to a lot of these cuts and a lot of things that are being done in our public school. When you're talking about overcrowding, this has been a common thing for over 11 years. Why hasn't it been addressed? Mr. Shi said in February, why aren't we working with the town to get residents, make sure verification, make sure people are not being dropped off from different districts? Why is that not even being considered to deal with the overcrowding and the lack of classrooms? I don't understand that. You had a meeting based on your notes here.
Respectfully, just stick to these resolutions, and then we have more public comment later.
I know, but it deals with overcrowding and cutting
There's no
classes.
overcrowding. It's all about the program of studies.
Well, you're telling me that you're cutting the class because of overcrowding. So how is that not the same topic? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
The resolution is the resolution to approve the program of studies.
Correct, but you're cutting credits because of overcrowding.
I'm
and you
trying to
don't
be
have the-
respectful, and we have 6 minutes of public comments later.
Well, I had to sit up here, and listen to the whole board have discussions among themselves when it's supposed to be public comment about what you're supposed to table and what you're not supposed to table. So again, I don't understand. I am a taxpayer. This has been a common issue for I've been in the district for 11 years. Why hasn't any verification done on residents? Maybe if we did that, we wouldn't have overcrowding as much as we can, and we wouldn't have to cut the biology lab. Some of you had a meeting with Mayor Joshi. Why hasn't it come in that we're building numerous houses in rezoning? That's not your decision, but again, we're going to see an influx of students. How many more classes are you going to cut? I just heard you cut AP Physics lab out. You keep saying it's a short term, but what is considered a short term? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? You're saying that this is the lesser of two evils. Okay, lesser of two evils. What's the time frame that you're going to put it back in? If you're going to cut it, when are you putting it back in? Do you guys have a timeline of when, if you do cut it, when you're going to put it back in? I'd like to know. Like, AP Physics was cut last year, so when are you going to put AP Physics back into the curriculum for the lab? I mean, if you're going to tell residents and you're going to tell teachers that you're cutting labs, you're cutting classes for the short term because you have no classes and overcrowding, then when is the timeline that as residents and taxpayers and potential people moving into our district because of the education will it be reinstituted? Is there a timeline? Or is it just going to be cut and that's just the way it is? And we'll be here 4 more years later and we're going to still be talking about overcrowding. And more classes are cut. Or, yeah, like the curriculum. I mean, is there a timeline that it will be put back in? When you met with the assemblyman and the mayor about overcrowding, did you discuss building a new school, adding additional property to the existing schools? I'm just wondering.
I want to be respectful of your time. Okay, thank you, Ms. Kerstetter. Yes, we have been looking at all of those infrastructure needs, and we will have a public meeting on March 30th. It's next Wednesday. Welcome everybody to attend if you'd like.
Can I respond a little bit?
Yes, Dr. Bragan.
You know, I've heard about the overcrowding, and I know we've talked about it. A number of people have mentioned it over the last, 10, 15 years. It's probably been getting to a point where it's apex. I've been here since December of 2019, and we've continually tried to do things and address it. There were 2 failed referenda at that time. Had either one of those passed in September of 2022, we wouldn't be having this conversation because it'd be classroom space not only in this building and some of the other buildings. So people can get up here and point to this current board. Many of the members who've been on here for a number of years, former board president Mr. Shi, when I first came on, who advocated for building, advocated for the need, and other board members too. I don't want to miss anyone that was here then. And the public voted it down. Why? Well, I can't answer that question why, but the public voted it down for whatever reason.
Excuse me, please.
This is my time now, and I'll share you your time. And I'm just saying, people are saying that no one has done anything. In the 2 years I've been here, there's 2 failed referenda where it was put to a vote to try to get the additional space that all of you here are saying is needed. No one's disagreeing. Everyone on this board knows we need classroom space, but I can't pull it out of the wazoo. We need a process to be put in place so we can put the shovels in the ground and get it done. And we could talk about 50 kids, 30 kids, 70 kids. The bottom line is we don't have the rooms. There were 90 home rooms in here when I was a vice principal in 2003, 2004. We didn't have enough space then. We had homerooms and wood shops. There's 500 more students. We don't have the space. I can't make it up. I can't build it out there and have it in September. What's gone on? We have to build. As Board President Schneider has said, we have a plan. We're going to bring it to the public on March 30th. Hopefully we'll start moving along and get shovels in the ground, so in a short period of time we'll have the room. But until then, there's not an answer. So Mrs. Kerstetter, your answer is how long? Until we got the buildings, until we have the rooms. As soon as we have the rooms, you have my word, you have the board's word, we're going to go back to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Venkat.
I think it's better to watch a movie than watching this BOA meeting, Doug. And first of all, I would like to thank Union for coming and talking, because all these days, last meeting, some of you guys said that, oh, teachers are asking this biology change, and there was a discussion, and there were no details. Somebody went to the online website, there were no minutes available as of now. So thank you, Union Vice President, for coming and talking, and my respect for Union has gone up. All these days I thought Union only cares about the teachers. This is the first time I saw that they do care about students too, number one. Number two, Brian Rivera, your kid is in elementary school. Biral's kid is in elementary school. Shivi's 3 kids passed 9th grade. They already enjoyed the rigorous biology. She doesn't care. She doesn't give a damn about it. Because all
Resolutions, please.
I'm talking about the resolution. Biology.
Okay, get to the resolution.
Yeah,
Get to the resolution.
This is for biology.
Address the chair, please. Thank you.
I'm addressing you, okay. So now your board members don't give a damn about it, Mr. Doug. And number two, you don't know anything about rigor.
This
you
is a
don't,
loose way to talk about these resolutions.
I will talk about, don't disturb
I'll give you
my
a little.
time.
I'll give you a little bit of.
No, I don't care
leash
about
here.
it. Let me complete my talk. You don't know what is rigor. You're asking, is it hours or something? Your BOE members, elementary kids, high school kids don't know. You don't know what is rigor. I think to Virginia, that question, if NJMS Medical Science is taking only 5 kids from Edison High School and JP every year, if they don't have the rigor, and 5 doctors from this Edison schools are not missing because of this rigor missing, who will be responsible? Doug is not going to be here. Nobody is going to be here. I think we are committing a crime of reducing the rigor and disturbing our own kids getting into medicine, which is a rigor that 1 hour, no SAT is nothing. And number 2, Dr. Bregan, through chair, he doesn't, I think to Dr. Bregan, I told several times, he doesn't need to be the bad guy. Either he needs to delegate to his people, and Dr. Bregan, my request is you don't need to own the mistakes of the board for their lack of discipline or for your people. As the CEO of this education district, you will get 90% of the credit. I sincerely request you need to accept the 10%. When you have started certain things, we appreciate it. We do continue to appreciate. When you do the things that 1 or 2, these things are close to us. If I want to have 5 doctors coming out of our school, the NJMS doesn't take the rigor, that extra credit is missing, and neighboring schools of Princeton or others are going to get it. Who is responsible? So your leadership team, kids already passed the high school. Your current BYE board members' kids are in the elementary. You guys are talking about short term? Please, or can you, if it is a short term, let's reduce one thing. Why do you want half of the thing for 9 people blocked there? Please, even in the peak of the COVID, we didn't even block these things. This is the reason why we don't have a place, because you guys are occupying, blocking certain things. $300 million budget we have. We don't have 2 classrooms. I think the curriculum committee, Brian, I still trust that your judgment as an educator, as an administrator, please let your president know that it is impacting near and dear. If that is not the case, it's fine. Why don't you pass a resolution to reduce your 3 terms to 1 year? Prove your credentials every year in the elections. We want to see it. Just because you have 3 years, you can be the bad guys for the first 2 years. Just because of the before the election years, you guys don't want to come up. I think curriculum committee in charge, Brian, I sincerely request to look back the biology necessity and question that. I asked Dr. Bregan last time, run a survey. He doesn't need to. I used to manage 4,000 people. I never go to each desk and ask them. I used to send the survey. If anybody raises concern, they are the only people. No, I clearly write it. If you are not responding, you are agreeing to this proposal. A survey to the parents or the students or the teachers would be really helpful, and I don't understand this administration is very adamant of running the surveys, both with teachers and the students. I hope as a curriculum committee in charge, you should be able to drive those surveys and take the parents' feedback. If biology is taken, it is the biggest crime that is going to be committed under your leadership. 2 years back, your vice president was curriculum committee in charge. She didn't do it. You know the reason? Her kid is in the 9th grade. She enjoyed the rigor of the biology. She doesn't give a damn about it now. Now she's not part of it. She doesn't care about the biology. Now the dog and pony show here, Dr. Bregan, can we get in a couple of other options? Why the hell? I'm asking Carol Badesky, why did you resign, ma'am? You should have been there and stopped that circus over
Address
there.
the chair, please.
I'm talking to the public, not to you guys. I'm talking to the public. My ex, I voted for her. I have a right to talk to my ex board member.
Resolutions only, please.
Okay, that's what I'm telling. On the resolution, if you, 8 of you, Brian, I request you, Virginia White, I'm sincerely requesting you to table this biology. Let them do their homework. If you need, I don't care about the beautification of a lot of other stuff. There are some trail rooms. I'm telling you now, I will donate it. I will collect it. Go fund me for the $300 million thing. We will beg. We will go to Governor Murphy that, okay, give me 2 trailers because we are beggars. $300 million, we can't do anything. That's all I can say. Please table it. Sorry for that.
Doug, I would like to say
Yes, Ms.
something.
Madiger.
So, Mr. Venkat Subbarao Bandi, couple of things I want to say to you. First, when in a curriculum committee, when an agenda is made, or when a proposal is put up, it is not the board members who put up that proposal. It is the administration that puts that proposal. Sometimes you can change things, sometimes you cannot change things. If you read the code of ethics for board members, you will see that board members do not run the school district, but they ensure that the school district is well run. So, I'm talking to you. I don't know if you're hearing me. And excuse me.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Mr. Venkat, you're being disruptive.
And I would
Please. You're being disruptive. Please.
And I would appreciate that, you have a pattern. You come in at every board meeting, you come in, and, a light could be out on street A, or something else could be out somewhere else. Everything you come and you just dump it on my head. And you have a pattern and you've been continuously doing it, and that's okay. Me as a board member here, if you have issues with how I am doing things, you are completely welcome to come and say, but please, I would appreciate if my family is not brought. I'm doing public service here, okay? I'm not here, I'm not getting big bucks for it. I'm here because I'm passionate about it. And I have been here in this, working here, not just now. I have been around since 2010. Since 2010, I have been volunteering my time, I have been working very hard, and I'm not doing this for my kids. I am doing it for all the children of Edison. I'm doing it for all the staff. I'm doing it for the community. When Mr. Biral Patel brought up about the Equitable State Aid Committee, I was the first member on that committee. At that time, we worked very hard to advocate for more funding for Edison. There are hundreds of things that I have done. And even now, when Brian Rivera, when he talked about passionate conversations in the curriculum committee meeting, he meant me. Okay, this is, I have been constantly engaged and working very hard behind the scenes. So I would appreciate if you come and talk positive, you have a right to criticize, no problems, but do it with a good intention. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Francesca Koval. I've been a teacher at John P. Stevens High School for the past 15 years. And in that time, I've always taught biology. So I just wanted to come and express to the board my opinions of this change of curriculum. And I heard a lot of talk about needing the classroom space, which is absolutely true. And I heard a lot of talk about saying that we are willing to explore other options. So I am just asking the board if you possibly table it. We, the teachers, have been taking a look at the classroom space. We don't necessarily need 2 whole more classrooms, but to run 2 more sections of biology, we would just need to find the space, 2 periods a day for this. And we think with just slight tweaks in our schedule, because there are many rooms, we've walked around, we've taken a poll, that some rooms are open certain periods of the day, and we think with slight modifications of our scheduling, that we could really find that classroom space. So we just ask you to table it and take another look. And please maybe have some of us come in and work with you to find that space, because we really think that we would be able to find it if you asked us to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Christo, resolutions only.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak? I can go last. Did anyone else have their hand raised?
I'm sorry, miss, you had your 6 minutes already. Yeah. We'll have time after the resolutions, and you're free to speak another 6 minutes.
Bylaws allows her to clarify.
Mr. Christo, I'm inviting you next. I'm inviting you next. She could go after you.
I know, a little patience.
He's first.
I'm not feeling well. Can she go, please? She can go.
I'm giving you your one opportunity for this period of time.
Ladies first, why? Because you want to remove my opportunity? Allow the young lady to come up.
I'm giving you one chance. Thank you.
That's very rude. That's very rude what you did, Doug. Not feeling very well. I would have liked her to speak first, but again, you got to be a dictator. You got to shove your will down people's throats.
Resolutions only, please.
In order not to put a public safety risk between me and the police officers or your security guard, you didn't have the right to remove my time, but I just came up so you didn't start a situation, a civil rights violation that could have caused a lawsuit, and I will sue. I already got a $4 million tort claim on Edison Township. As we speak for resolutions, Mr. so-called chairman, you don't keep your mouth shut long enough, and I'm saying this as respectfully as possible. As we speak for the resolutions, you don't keep your mouth shut long enough so we can explain how it pertains to the resolutions. You shut us down right away. You can't do that. You got to give...
Resolutions only, please. Thank you.
Speaking about your behavior during the resolutions before I start off. Thank you very much. At the start of the resolutions, when you spoke, you said the public may participate in accordance with the bylaws and applicable state regulations. Let me remind you, Mr. so-called chairman, the bylaws are null and void if they go against the Sunshine Law and the state law and United States Constitution. That's number one. Your lawyer can advise you of that if he has some integrity. You never answered if you were related to Ari Schneider from the same law firm. It could be a big conflict of interest. One of the ways, as you said you can throw us out with the bylaws. A lot of your bylaws go against the law, and I'd like to say, Cohen versus California.
Is this resolutions, please, only, right here?
And you started off the resolutions by threatening us and making false statements, and I'm trying to clarify how you're wrong. Okay, I'll go and, no problem. One of the statements made during the resolutions by one of the board members, I'd like to say, Shivi has shut down my public comments time and time again, and she works very hard to censor the public. In regards to the settlement agreement, if you'd like to turn to the settlement agreement, is this one of the 10 or 11 sexual harassment lawsuits facing the Edison Board of Education? To the chair, through the chair to the lawyer, so-called lawyer. Would you like to, is this one of the sexual harassment cases?
I'll let Dr. Bragan address whatever there is to be addressed publicly
and
on that.
Is his law firm qualified enough to handle a sexual harassment lawsuit, or is the previous law firm, were they more qualified? And I am speaking on this resolution right here. Is this one of those, Dr. Bragan, the sexual harassment lawsuit? I don't appreciate you guys waiting at the end of my time. There's been over 6, 7 meetings. I walk away, you don't answer not even one of them. Specifically when I ask if he's related to Ari Schneider of the Bush Law Group that you represent, attorney. So can you please answer my questions when I'm up here? Because your answer can lead me into one direction or another direction in a question, and, you know, I'm not going to...
I want to be respectful of your time. If you can stick to resolutions only, you have 2
You've never been
minutes.
respectful to anybody in the public your whole time up here, so don't insult our intelligence, Mr. So-called chairman, okay? Dr. Bragan, you've always been respectful to me. Could you please answer, is this one of the sexual harassment lawsuit cases? So I can have a minute and 30 seconds to delve into other very important topics. And I would like, since I missed the last time and you haven't picked a board member, if I would still get a chance to say why I'm more qualified than those people. Do I?
It's not a resolution, but at the end of the meeting, you'll have plenty of time. You'll have 6 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I understand. All right. Dr. Bragan, would you like to address? Is this one of the sexual harassment lawsuit cases? Because I'm appalled. For me, it's completely abhorrent how many sexual harassment lawsuit cases Edison Board of Education has been racking up. So I would like to know right now, is it, because if you're not going to answer my question when I walk away, all right? That's been on the record more than enough times. I got 40 seconds. It is part of the resolutions. Is this the Edison Township Board of Education, the matter of KC and TC, OBO, FC versus Edison Township Board of Education? Is this one of the many sexual harassment lawsuit cases? And if so, why are we racking up so many sexual harassment lawsuit cases? Are they from years ago? Are they new ones? Are they a mixture of both? It's all right. It's all right to know that, Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. 6 minutes is up.
It's
Thank
all right
you.
to know that.
Did you want to answer any questions, Dr. Brady?
But it's all right to know that.
Mr. Board President, I'll answer that. Crystal, in answer to your question, that it's not related to any sexual abuse case. That's a due process hearing for one of our students with special needs.
Thank you, Dr. Bragan. Any other public comment? Miss? No, I'm sorry. Behind you. We have to vote a few times and then you could come back.
Hi, Gwendolyn Castles, South Edison, New Jersey. I wasn't planning on speaking.
Can you just move the microphone so we could, thank you.
I wasn't planning on speaking. I have a child in high school, a junior, who takes both AP and in-class support. I was a former teacher who retired. You're the board. You're the head of the whole district. And I'm listening, and one person asks one question, one person asks the other. I get why parents are upset, and I get why teachers are upset. I'm both. But here's the thing. You set the tone. You set the standard. You set the pace. And I understand that sometimes we're stuck with things that are no great solutions. But when you propose something as a whole, people can't start turning around and saying, well, it's the superintendent, it's the administrators, it's the teachers. You're the board. Parents look to you, administrators look to you, the staff looks to you. And if that's something you have to do, then there should be a plan B as far as if that doesn't work and we have to close down offering classes, what's the support for the teachers? What's the support for those students that maybe have needed a lab that are not cutting it? Everybody's so busy telling everybody else that they're not doing the job and pointing out their fingers of how they could do it better. You have 9 people, all educated, all professionals, all live in town, whether it's north or south, and yet there's no cohesiveness there. If you can't do it, and the staff can't have support at it, and everybody's blaming one person and blaming the other, then what do you think the students, when they watch this on TV, think? There's no good solutions for a lot of things. But if you're going to give a bad solution that you feel that you have to do, then make sure that you have a backup plan if that doesn't work for everybody, whether it's a student, an administrator, or a teacher. I'm a parent, and it bothers me to sit there and listen, because you know what? Some of you have been on the board for an awful long time. You knew this problem was coming, and I get it. We can't build a building. Teachers can't make labs happen. But if you have to do a solution to a problem that's not perfect, then the 9 people on that board need to be able to present to parents, staff, administrators, that if it doesn't work, that here's the plan B. Here's how we're going to support our teachers. Here's how we're going to support our students that are not making it. Here's how we're going to support our superintendent or our administrators. Remember, you are the individuals that our students look up to say, hey, they're successful people. And yet, people don't know numbers. They're not sure who to. You live in town. You're telling me that you guys haven't even talked to a teacher? Because I know most of you do. And I get the parents are upset. Trust me, I'm a very vocal parent. But people need to get their acts together and figure out, you know what? If this doesn't work, this is how we're going to be able to support it and get everybody on board. And no, not everybody's going to be happy. And sitting here and yelling and this and that is not doing anything for our kids. And quite frankly, the only reason I'm here is for my kid. Because this is not fun. This is not amusing. This is frustrating. It's frustrating, I'm sure, for the superintendent. I'm sure it's frustrating for the administrator. It's frustrating for the teachers. And let me tell you, it's frustrating for a parent. Edison needs to start thinking outside the box for a plan A, a plan B, instead of putting one plan out there and then going, well, I didn't know, well, I wasn't sure. I'm sure you had dialogues with your superintendent. This is not a surprise. What's sad is that I'm sure I'm talking, and 3 people, 2 people, not hearing a word I said. You're here for the students. You're here for the community. Figure out how to make a compromise. This is what we're stuck with. This is what they need. And everything in the middle, work on. Because this is a waste of time, of energy, and frustration, both for yourself, both for the parents, and both for the students. Because you know what? Some of you will be on this board in 4 years, 5 years. My kid got a 1, 2, 3, 4 years to make a life for themselves, and everything that happens now impacts the possibility of them being successful. And I'm not saying they won't be successful, you just make it harder, longer, and more costly. You're all here as representatives of the community. Start listening to each other. Don't wait to come here to tell us you don't understand, or you're not sure, or this wasn't right. We tell our students, come prepared. Be ready for a plan B. I don't even have words to tell you that I don't understand how we can't have a dialogue and say, teachers need this, parents need this, and this is the only thing I can do.
It's time, miss. Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay.
Board President?
Yes, Ms. Peng.
Comments? I do have to agree with this parent that we need more communication. I just want to, because this biology lab cut, it was recommended or discussed by the committee, and the rest of the board doesn't even know until we actually see the meeting minutes. With that, but I also want to ask that we do not have to approve the program study. There is no deadline to approve it. I mean, there's no, and as far as I see it, there's no other changes besides this 1 credit change, but it's not really just 1 credit. And I know I have been talking about overcrowding many, many times. I think it has been used as reasons for many, many things. I don't know if it's always the real reason, But I know that's a problem. Everybody agree overcrowding is a problem. But I don't quite understand the solution here. The solution is to cut biology lab for everybody in JP and Edison High, which doesn't have more students coming in. And why the solution is not building a trailer, which takes a month. Why the solution is not cutting some other labs, like AP labs, which impacts much, much less students. Why the solution has to be cutting labs for every single freshman coming to high school, taking biology, and maybe this is the only time they're taking high school biology science class. And that's 1,200 students that's being impacted this year alone, and maybe next year. We know our overcrowding is not going to be resolved in a couple of years, so next year another 1,200 students are going to be impacted. So I don't know if that's the only solution here. So that's just my comment. That's why I'm moving to also table this resolution.
Okay, we're going to separate it out, so if we have to do that. Go ahead, Mr. Mohan Patel.
Board President, just
Yes.
listening to all the parents and all the teachers and board members here, and in regards to the students and what is best for them and the incoming class of 9th grade students, I would like to motion to table that section where it's the biology relation. So if there's a second, I would.
Point of order, as I indicated before, a motion to table is entirely in order once there's a motion on the floor to be tabled, which there is not yet. If and when the motion to approve that course of study is made, if that motion is made, which it has not yet been, a motion to table is entirely in order, takes precedence, must be voted on. Right now, there's nothing to table.
Board President?
Mr. Shi?
Yeah, I think, hearing the teachers and parents, there's a possible solution offered by this teacher here. They put themselves out there to look for possibilities to solve this issue. So why don't we take this on as their offer, and let's hold it off on this particular item. If we can, just like our attorney said, that when it comes to the point that voting on that, we can just when it comes to the point of table, then we can table that. But there's an option, there's a possible solution on the table offered by our teachers. Let's take that. Let's give it a try.
I would just say let's just give it a month and come back to this next month and see if we can explore possible solutions in the meanwhile.
I'm sure somebody will motion to table, and if that's how you feel.
Okay.
Mr. Rivera?
Can I comment?
Yes.
I like to sit here and just listen to everybody's opinion and take notes. First thing I want to do is I appreciate the ETA for coming up and standing up for their members, and I also want to not apologize, but sometimes I take good notes, and sometimes my notes could be misconstrued. So if I offended anybody with my notes, it wasn't my intention, because I see that the science department is very passionate about what they do. So my sincerest apologies if I offended anyone. My notes weren't supposed to do that, because I know I was quoted several times, but I did want to make that comment. Last names I didn't get, but Brian, Christy, and Francesca, I want to thank you for coming out and advocating for your children, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Francesca, I love the idea that you took it in your own initiative to walk around and try to figure out the problem for yourself. That was all of you guys, so I commend you all for doing that. That truly tells the public and the parents that you're out there for the benefit of their children. You're trying to find solutions for this problem. Minesh, thank you for coming out and being very active for our kids and our parents as well. Ms. Conway, it's always a pleasure to see you. I definitely agree, the 9th period experience with the lab and making sure that they have that experience and that experience is done properly. Great points that you make. Sarah, I understand you have the issues with the overcrowding. Again, being on this board for about 3 months or so, there's been great discussions with all of us in regards to a plan that's going to be in place. I know you've been frustrated for the last 11 years, but I do know that there's a plan in place, and it's going to be brought up on the 30th, and I think the public and our teachers and the residents of Edison are going to be happy with what we're bringing forth. So I hope that works out for you. Venkat, I appreciate that you come up and with your words. I'm glad you hold me accountable for this curriculum committee. The one thing I do want to say is, you know, I know there might be a personal issue with you and Shivy. I don't know what it is, but Shivy is a big part to that curriculum committee. She brought in some great ideas. She advocated for children. I understand the comment you made that we have kids that are younger, she has kids that are older. I don't think that plays a factor. You know, she works hard and she advocates for everybody. And Mrs., I believe it's Castles, I got Linda, the parent that just came up and spoke. You know, you're very passionate about your children and their future. So it takes a lot of guts for people to get up there and speak. And, you know, it's difficult even now trying to speak to the public. But it's nice to hear that we have parents out there that are going to advocate for the kids and want what's best for them. Now, in regards to this decision, you know, I listen to everybody, and everybody makes such great points. And, you know, I really wish that we could be in a room, all of us, and had this discussion in regards to curriculum, because you always get different aspects and different perspectives. But at the time when we're in that meeting, you're listening to the perspectives of the people that are included in that meeting. Again, our job is to ask the tough questions. They're supposed to provide the data to us and the materials that basically engineers their decision-making. So from my understanding, and even listening to science teachers, I believe it was Francesca that said it, there is a huge overcrowding problem in J.P. Stevens. I only experienced it doing the visit, and I see the overcrowding in J.P. Stevens. But I do have to take the word of central administration about this is the data, Brian, this is what's going on over here, and this is what we think is best for our kids. But then I sit here and I listen to you guys, and you guys, like Francesca and your team, you really blew me away with the fact that, hey, we took the initiative to check this out. So I don't have a problem with the fact of agreeing with Mrs. Madakar and the rest of the Board of Education here, you know, to take another few weeks to see if that we could do this. My concern is the classroom size, guys. I don't want to see you guys with 28 to 32 kids in the classroom. Oh, wow. So to me, imagine how unproductive it could be for some of the kids there, and now we're giving you 37, 38. So just keep that in mind. You know, I want to know I want it to work for you guys and also work for our children. I don't know if that makes any sense, but, you know, that's what I have to say.
Board President, I have a comment.
Yes, Mr. Biro Patel.
Yes, I have a couple of thoughts here, hearing the public comments and the discussion on this between the board members. So Dr. Bragan, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no deadline to approve this, the program of studies like this month, correct?
Well, I believe the students are making their schedules based on that program, and they've been doing so since, you know, the end of February, I believe, for next year.
So when is that? So one of the thoughts I had is instead of tabling and approving a particular part for the program of studies, if we want to pull this from the agenda for today and review it during the month, I don't think the overcrowding crisis is going to solve in 1 month. That's not going to happen. Maybe nothing changes in 1 month, right? Or maybe one of the couple of solutions come up. But hearing the public comments, I think if there is an option for us to just review this for a few days and then bring it up in the next month's agenda, even if nothing changes or whether it changes, it may be a good idea in my opinion.
Okay. Any other board member comments before we move to vote? First motion would be for, I'll separate these out. First motion will be for personnel report, please. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Shi, motion. Second?
Second.
Ms. Madiger, second. Roll call.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried.
Thank you. I'm going to bundle item 2 and item 4, administration and pupil and special services. You have that, Ms. Cluck?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion for those 2 items?
So 2 and 4?
2 and 4, yes, I'm skipping curriculum and instruction for now.
Yeah, motion.
Okay, Mr. Shi, motion.
Second.
Ms. Madiger, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried for items 2 and 4.
Okay, next, here we go. So we have a curriculum and instruction.
Yes, I have a motion to table the program
So
of
we have
studies.
a motion to pass that, and you have a
Motion to table. the
motion to
program
table.
of
Mr.
studies.
Shi?
I second the motion to table.
Mr. Shi, motion to table. Mr. Mohan Patel, a second.
So it's 2A, right?
Excuse me. Can we just, Mr. Rubin, can we do just 2A?
Let me make a suggestion that to make this easier, the motion should be to move item 3A separately, so it's broken out. And then
Okay.
there could be a motion to table if there is one. We don't have to clutter it up
So,
with the rest of it.
do we have an option to pull from the agenda, the program of studies for today?
For right now, we will be doing that when we table it. So let's,
So tabling is pulling from the agenda?
so I will make a motion to approve item 3B, C, D, and E. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Ms. Madiger, second, and roll call, please.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried for items 3B, C, D, and E.
Okay, now I have for item 3A, I have a motion to pass that, and then Mr. Shi,
I have a motion to table and.
And second to.
and a second with Mr. Mohan Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Wait, what's the roll call is to what? To table?
To table,
table.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes to table.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried to table item 3A.
We have finance reports. Motion to approve finance resolutions.
Motion.
Mr. Biro Patel, motion, second?
Motion.
Can I have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Mohan Patel, second. Comment, Mr. Shi?
Yes, at the last meeting, at the caucus meeting, I suggested to put a more detailed meeting summary for the curriculum committee, and I do not see that being added as part of the minutes to be approved. So can I have that added as part of the meeting summary?
As they're written now, do we approve it?
As they're written now, no, I'm not, because I want a detailed summary as part of the summary, because Brian has it. You know, we all received it from Mrs. Polakowski.
I believe that we said publicly that we were sending those to Mr. Shi, correct?
No, he got it.
Everyone got
We
them.
did get them.
Is it added in here?
It's not in the minutes, everybody.
Is it added in here? As part of the meeting minutes to approve?
I believe that you received the email, but it's not part of the minutes.
Yes, I would like that to be added as a part of the minutes.
I have no problem with that. Does anybody have an issue?
If everyone agrees on adding the minute, I'm go ahead and approve this.
Yeah, we have no
resolution.
problem with that.
Okay, so,
I have no problem with that, I should
okay,
say.
can we make sure that's added as part of the,
Thank you, Ms. Gluck.
Okay.
Okay, with that said, we had a motion to approve Mr. Biro Patel, a second to Mr. Mohan Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes, with the addendum to move the meeting notes onto that agenda.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
yes, providing that we have the detailed summary added.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried for the finance items, which will include the details for the curriculum committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move to committee reports now. Mr. Birol Patel he's our chair of the Budget and Planning and Oversight Committee. You had a busy month, obviously, with the budget. So, Mr. Patel, take it away.
Sure. Thank you, President Snyder. So we had 3 Budget Planning and Oversight Committee meetings.
Excuse me,
this
Mr.
month.
Patel. I'm going to pass my chair to Ms. Madiger for just a few minutes, but you could continue.
All right.
Thank you.
So our first meeting was February 23rd from 4:30 to 6:20 in the evening. Board members in attendance were myself, Brian Rivera, and Jerry Shee, and Shivi Prasad Madhukar. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Bregan, Ann Cluck, and Dr. Eldarelli. The businesses we discussed was introduction to preliminary budget, review of the preliminary budget, discussion of different line items within that preliminary budget, timeline for the state budget availability and the state aid numbers, decision on future reviews of the preliminary budget prior to presentation for the board, which is today. The pending business we had at that point of time was the committee decided to meet again after the availability of the state aid numbers for discussing the preliminary budget so that we can make proper decisions. The items, detailed items for the discussion, detailed business discussed, are available with the report on the board website and it will be also in the meeting minutes. The second meeting we had for Budget Planning and Oversight Committee was on 1st of March 2022. The board members in attendance were Biral Patel, Brian Rivera, Jerry Shee, and Doug Schneider. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Bregan, Ann Cluck, Dr. Eldarelli, and our facilities director, Bill Colibas. Other members who were in attendance for this meeting were Pradeep Kapoor, architect from DMR Architect, and Donna O'Gorman from DMR Architect. The businesses we discussed in this meeting were ESIP, this is called Energy Savings Implementation Program, and ESCO, presentation from our architects, DMR Architects. Just to recap, the district had an RFP out last year to receive the proposals, and so this meeting was presentation of the numbers and the proposals received by DMR Architect to the Budget Planning and Oversight Committee. There were a couple of vendors who were presented. One's name is DCU Energy, second vendor was Honeywell, and the committee together decided to meet with the 2 shortlisted vendors who had applied for this project, and the next meeting for that is going to be March 28th for the Budget Planning and Oversight Committee. Other businesses discussed were introduction for adding for funding for Robotics Club and AI. The third meeting we had was most recently on 15th of March. This meeting was very exciting because it was held after the welcome news we got for the extra state funding, which is the result due to which we can have 0% tax increase. So it was a very happy and exciting meeting, in my opinion. We reviewed the preliminary budget. Dr. Bregan had already prepared at that time a preliminary budget with 0% tax increase, so the committee reviewed that. And all the aspects, again, the meeting minutes for the details for the previous meeting for March 1st and the details of this particular meeting are on the board website along with the agenda, and it will be also part of the meeting minutes. You'll see more detailed report over there. And the other small things that were discussed were committee finance and facilities project updates that Mr. Bill Colibas provided. And in this meeting, committee agreed upon finalizing the preliminary budget, which was presented to the Board of Education today. Our next meeting is going to be this coming Monday, March 20th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Biral Patel. Next would be Mr. Brian Rivera, Curriculum Committee.
Hello all. So we had a meeting on March 14th, 2022 from 5 to 6:30. In attendance was Ms. Manakar, Biral Patel, myself, and Doug Schneider. Administrators there, we had Gail, Beninder, and Thomas. Business discussed. We talked about the kindergarten update. There's about 500 students enrolled. It was stated that more enrollment will come during the summer. A committee was formed, from my understanding. There's various stakeholders in the committee. They're working with building administration on the building layout, the personnel, schedule, supplies, curriculum, and resources. Also discussed was K-2 report cards. There's a pilot K-2 standard-based report card committee formed. staff from various schools. They've been working on it since 2018, I was told. Also in the meeting, we reviewed a past PowerPoint. There's a comparison between a traditional report card versus the standard-based report card. Standard-based report card gives a clear picture on what skills a child has acquired or not acquired. Bless you. More developmentally appropriate, not about grade, but more about mastery, and there's consistency throughout the district. It was researched in various districts. Rubric was created. They're talking about having it as a trimester for K to 2, and it's graded on performance indicators for learning standards. Sample report cards were reviewed, and they're looking to implement it next year. Benchmarks for Spanish have not had benchmarks for Spanish in a long time at the elementary level. Last year, benchmarks were created. The benchmarks are put into place, and they're looking forward into the data that they'll be receiving from those benchmarks based on the performance indicators of learning standards. Difficulty. Also, they're saying there was a difficulty in recruiting language teachers. High school program of studies. Currently, it's posted. Students are currently selecting classes for the high school. I asked how the process is going. They said the process was going well. There was a discussion about computer science, about a sequence shift. Adjustments will be made if need be. Also, NJLSA testing and DLM testing has started. It actually started the day of the meeting for 11th graders. They need to take the test in order to graduate. They pass the test or they have an equivalent option. 9/11 high school testing will be from grades 9 and 11 high school, April 26th start of delay opening spaces. Middle school, May 16th to 27th. Elementary school, May 9th to the 18th. And Edison was also selected for a field testing for extra testing section. DLM Dynamic Learning Maps assessment window opens April 1st to the 15th. Currently, there's about 116 students that have to take that test. Secondary electives for special education was also talked about. They're looking into electives at JP. They said electives were great for inclusion students, and they want to provide support for teachers and students that are taking those electives. So they're looking into a club called Unified Partners. Students who volunteer to work with directly with our Special Olympics. Many of those students that are in that club are National Honor Society students who will be looking for hours. So they're going to look into building maybe 4 electives and try to recruit some of those students from Unified Partners to assist the students and staff taking those electives. And then college planning for special education students. The Special Education Advisory Council met. They had 2 workshops for February. The first one was college planning for students with disabilities. There was 2 representatives from Middlesex County College that came to talk about the process of transition. Biggest issue for special education students transitioning to Middlesex, one of the speakers stated, was independence. Also, the presentation is posted on the district website. Finally, the second workshop that was provided was transition from school to adult life. The presentation was preparing for a bright future, the importance of a successful transition from school to adult life for individuals with different abilities through a firsthand experience for parents. The purpose of the presentation was to encourage people with different abilities, provide information for parents who support people with different abilities, and provide helpful resources towards transition into adult life. The presentation is also posted on the district website. And that's what we spoke for about an hour and a half. Thank you.
Full President?
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Yes, Mr. Shi.
Mr. Rivera, can you expand a little bit on this high school computer science sequence shift?
So in the conversation, there was I can't speak for myself because I'm not familiar with computer science, but in the conversation, Birol, Shivy, and Gail had a conversation about the sequence shift. So I have to pass that off.
I'll talk about it. So
I wanted to put it in the minutes, but.
Sure, yeah. So basically, Python is offered in 9th grade and Java is offered in 10th grade.
I'm sorry?
Python is offered in 9th grade and Java is offered in 10th grade. And to get into Java, one of the prerequisites is Python. So some of the committee members raised the question about, because Python does not have anything to do with Java. You don't need to have the knowledge of Python to learn Java. So we just kind of asked the question about why that's a prerequisite, and the answer was it's really about just gauging the computer knowledge of students. So it doesn't really have to be Python. If you've done Python, great. But if you haven't done Python and if you have knowledge of computer skills, then there is a test that you would need to take. And if you pass that test, you could skip the Python and get into Java directly.
Okay. So there will be a test available, right?
Yeah, so just to kind of make sure that they have some knowledge.
Okay, but those two, I agree with you. They're not, those two languages are not that related. So all right, just that. Well, since you're on this topic, and if some students want to take these language courses at Middlesex College, can we give them credit for that?
I think currently you can get credit for Java. I know that you can do it at MCC, and you can get, and it's noted on your transcript, so we do recognize it.
How about Python?
Python, I'm not sure, but Java, I know that it's recognized.
Can we please look into that? I don't know if that's possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Shi. Ms. Pang?
Yeah, I have a question. Shivi. I remember Java is currently offered in 9th grade. That was brought up last year in order to, because if we bring up Java down to 9th grade, then at 10th grade, they can actually take AP Computer Science, because Java is the only requirement for taking AP Computer Science. That's the language that's used in AP Computer Science test. So I thought last year Java already moved down to 9th grade. I'm pretty sure that some students told me that they already selected. So are you saying Python is actually the only language that's offered to 9th grade?
Well, this is what, I mean, you were on the committee last year, so you would know better about last year. But because I do remember one of the conversations in the curriculum committee, and you can correct me if I don't recall, maybe we'll have to go back and look at the minutes. But I do recall a conversation where there was some discussion about the exposure to Python, and maybe that's why Python was introduced this year, I'm not sure. But this Python is not something that the board approved this year. It was on the thing. So maybe it was approved last year. I'm not sure about it. But if anybody wants to get into computer science AP, and if Java is a requirement for that, I know for a fact that you could actually do it at MCC, get the credit, and get onto that AP Comp Science course.
No, I just want to make sure Java is also offered to the 9th grade, because that's the requirement to take AP Computer Science. So
nothing was changed this year, so I don't know, something might have changed last year. We'll have to go back and look at the minutes.
Last year Java is offered, so is that still offered? That's my question, actually.
It is.
We'll have to, is it offered? Yeah, it is offered, Brian is saying.
Okay, so Python is added besides Java to the 9th grade?
Shivi, I believe
Mr. Patel.
I believe the conversation was about C++ and Java, right? If I'm not mistaken.
C++ was removed last year. It was no longer
that
offered.
That was the conversation, not Python.
No, that was done already last year, so why would
Because C++ and Java are very similar languages.
Yeah, which was removed last year already, so.
Right. So, but again, like Shivi said, we would look back at the minutes.
Yeah, we just have to go back and see when the decision was made. We'll look into that. Dr. Bragan.
Yeah, could you send an email to the board so that we can see what's being changed?
I'm pretty sure the course sequence is listed in the program of studies that was just tabled, but we'll share it with everybody.
I mean, this was not anything that was brought up. This is not like this discussion about computer science. This was not a proposal that was brought by the administration. I happened to look at the program of studies and I saw this, and so I raised that question, why is it here? So I'm imagining that since this was not approved this year, it might have been, the discussion might have happened last year. And rather than speculating, it's better to kind of just go back and see, what happened, and then address it there.
Okay, thank you, guys. Any other feedback? Okay, next, I'll turn to Facility Improvement Committee, that's me. So we had this meeting February 28th, it was from 6 to 8 p.m. I chaired this meeting, all of the members of the board were there. We had Ms. Gluck, Dr. Bragan, and Mr. Kalabas there as administrators. Others in attendance were Mr. Rubin from the Bush Law Group. We talked about this. This meeting's actually on YouTube, so anybody could go back and look at it. And we talked about the roofing projects. We actually got a nice PowerPoint presentation from Mr. Kalabas talking about the roofing in the parking lots. We looked at, obviously roofing requires continued investment, right? So when there's leaks, you got to fix them, but we know that there's going to be leaks. We have a lot of buildings, so we have to make sure we stay ahead of it. Also, we have an immediate need. As everyone knows, we're getting new school buses this year. And in terms of parking, we have to make sure that we have a parking lot paved for those buses to park. And that would be over by Herbert Hoover. We also discussed the J.P. Stevens turf baseball field. At that point, there was a delay on this project. Unfortunately, that impacts the season, obviously, but that was due to an EPA approval. I'm not sure if we've got the EPA approval thus far. We've not, so we're still in limbo there. So the permit and the approval are still pending. And then we discussed short versus long-term needs, some strategy, and what the board agreed was that Dr. Bragan needs to be tasked on putting together this infrastructure plan and present it to this committee. And what Dr. Bragan was tasked with doing is talking to the building principals, making sure that certainly everyone has the ability to weigh in and describe their building needs. I know this has been happening, which is great, and we should see some results of that feedback on March 30th, which is our next meeting. On these minutes, it says scheduled date and time to be announced and advertised via legal ad. We've done that. It is March 30th on YouTube and at the caucus, in the caucus room of the Ed Center, and that's at 6 o'clock. So we invite the public to join us either in person or virtually for that. Next, if no comments,
Board
yes,
President,
Mr. Patel.
One quick question. In regards to the infrastructure and the issues that we discussed, is it possible, I would like to ask Dr. Bragan, if it's possible, we could, before we start paving all the parking lots that we discussed in paving, can we address some of those parking lots that we are missing in terms of just patching the bigger craters that we have in some of these school parking lots? So if that's possible, we could try to at least address some of those issues with, especially J.P. Stevens has craters that have been created for a long time. It's like meteors just right down. Thank you.
Just 100% on that, and we're already triaging some of those major, concerns right now that aren't a total repave, but need some repair just to be functional.
Very good. Next, we have the Performance Monitoring Committee. Ms. Madiger.
Thank you, Doug. So the Performance Monitoring Committee met on March 1st, Tuesday, from 7 o'clock to 7:50. Board members in attendance were Doug Schneider, Virginia White, and Shivi Madhukar. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Alderelli, Dr. Bragan, Mr. Greg Cohen, and Mr. Richard Benedict. There were about 45 participants on Zoom, parents mostly. Participants asked questions. There were some suggestions and some information was shared. Few questions that were raised, among others, include update and plans for JP turf fields, information about the BABES program, are Edison schools on track for smoother busing during the next school year, middle school sports busing, update on enrollment, and if our systems were equipped to handle the summer rush, process for enrollment application. Some concern was raised around all electronic application form and document submission. When should students be in the system once the enrollment paperwork is filed? Information about substitute teacher workshop. Some suggestions included parents and students were reminded to use the parent help desk. Besides reaching quickly to the right person, this also allows the board to keep track of issues. Exploring expansion of subscription busing to ease traffic congestion around pickup and drop-offs once the busing issues from previous year is completely resolved. Information was shared on plans around full-day kindergarten. And that would be all, Mr. Board President.
Okay, very good. Next, we have Policy Committee. This Policy Committee meeting was held on Friday, March 11th. This was from 12 to 1:30 at the board offices. Board members in attendance. In person, we have Mohan Patel, Shannon Peng, Shivi Madigar, Doug Schneider, Dr. Aldarelli and Dr. Bragan were there, and Ms. Blackburn, our attorney, joined us virtually. We discussed a lot of things, and we wish we had more time, so we're going to be meeting again, next month. The first order of the business was the military leave policy. We reviewed that. I believe this is actually published in our minutes for the day, and it was adopted in February 2018, but we haven't really been enforcing it as written, so the committee took a look at that and made sure to reinforce that it should be enforced, and also we are going to continually look at it and re-examine if it's needed. Facility use policy, Ms. Peng recommended some changes to the facility use regulations to categorize nonprofit language schools as a Class A or Class B group. This is the groups that currently rent some of our schools for language learning. Ms. Peng is going to work with our attorney to present the board with some adaptations of that policy. Mr. Shi provided the committee with feedback encouraging our administration to develop and implement a financial reward system for those residents who report a non-resident using our school system. This is something that a member of the public talked about before about residency verification. We all agreed it was a great idea, and we also agree that our new data analyst employed by the Board of Education should request cooperation with the township as they are the keepers of all the tax records. So it would be interesting if we can use our computer knowledge and technology to somehow automate at least some of that process, which would be great. And that would be with full cooperation, hopefully, with the township. We're going to be requesting that. And we talked about our social media policy. Ms. Madigar reminded the committee that we do have an existing policy that was adopted in February 2018. And we will also be exploring best practices from other districts. And related to no specific policies, but in general, Mr. Mohan Patel raised issues relating to school emails to promote political meetings, conflicts of interest relating to politics, and the expansion of online bidder software at a somewhat lower threshold than what New Jersey currently tells us we need to do. And in terms of pending business, Strauss Esme is our contractor that does all of our policy, and what they do is continually update best practices and what they feel is what we as the board should be adopting. So we are going to be looking at that. Dr. Bragan did provide us with Strauss Esme policy updates, but we just didn't have time to get to it. So that's first order of business next meeting. Any questions on that? Very good.
Yeah, Board President?
Yes.
Just want to clarify a couple of things. Just for the student verification.
Yes.
There's no way that, what I was suggesting is how to do the work. I would just want us to have a policy that we should have an annual verification. It goes beyond what we currently do. I was proposing at least 50% of students should be verified annually. That's what I hope that the policy committee can discuss at the next meeting to make that a policy. So to get that done, I don't know if it's appropriate from the legal point that we can talk with our attorney there, but the whole purpose is I want to have a policy that we must do it every year. Okay, just for the social media policy discussions, did you get it into details? I know we have a pretty robust policy on social media. Was there any proposed changes to that policy, or what was the discussion about?
Ms. Madigar?
So I attended an ethics training it was a half-day training conducted by the New Jersey School Boards Association. And they talked about them having their own policy write-up on social media, and they encourage, obviously, all boards to not only have a social media policy for board members, but also enforce it and make sure that everybody is adhering to that policy. So in that context, I thought it was a good idea to kind of, since we were meeting for the policy committee, to reach out to the NJSBA, and Mr. Rubin, helped get that policy for us. So some of the language was the same, but there was slight, changes here and there. So at the next policy committee meeting, we might have, some additions. Mostly it would probably be the same, but there's some language that we have to still work on. Okay. And Mr. Rubin will advise on that.
Yeah, whoever was on the board in 2018 adopted a pretty robust policy. I actually think it extends farther beyond what best practices even show from other districts. So in 2018, whoever the policy person was or whatever did a really nice job with that.
Okay. So just looking forward to see what's the changes that's going to be proposed. Cause
I think there was just one line which was there, and this is what we have is basically the Strauss Mays policy.
Yes.
What they recommend.
Yes.
And what was different in the NJSBA was that the board members the importance of board members maintaining proper decorum online, digital, and in person. That was the only additional line.
But we have not proposed that yet.
No, we have not proposed that.
We just discussed it.
We just have to, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, upcoming meetings.
President, can I?
Yes, Ms. Peng.
Yeah, just make a comment. Yeah, I just checked the program study of 2021-22. Yes, we did offer, Java actually is the only language offered to all the ninth grader as of now. This is the change that we put in last year, because previously the students has to take C++ the first year, then Java the second year before they can take any AP classes, which doesn't make sense because, first of all, C++ and Java are pretty similar, and Java is the language that's used for AP exam, AP computer science. So we changed that last year, and actually now Java is offered to all the ninth graders so that they can take AP computer science in 10th grade. And I think the question raised probably in the committee probably is like if some students miss the Java in ninth grade, if they take either C++ or Python in somewhere else during summer or something, and I agree they should be allowed to take AP computer science in 10th grade because they are similar language, though even though the syntax is quite different, but the concepts are the same. So if they take the class somewhere else, they should be provided that pathway to take AP courses in 10th grade. So that's what I think.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Board President.
Yes, Mr. Shi.
I didn't want to get too much into this program study since we tabled it, but I just noticed there are some changes with the AP computer science in this new program studies versus last year's, but we can take it offline. I just noticed it.
Okay. Yep. Upcoming meetings. March 30th, as discussed, at the Ed Center. We have from 6 to 8 p.m.
President,
yes.
If, before you go into the upcoming meetings, can we get the township liaison committees?
Mr. Patel, you're always reminding me that I forget things. I'm very sorry. Ms. White. I was at this committee meeting too.
How could you forget that one?
How could I forget?
It was such a great meeting too. It really was.
It was a great meeting, so please take as much time as you'd like. I am so sorry.
You got a couple extra minutes.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Okay.
Board of Ed Township Liaison Committee. The date of meeting was March 15th. The time was 11 a.m. and we extended to 12:45. It just was, we covered a lot, okay? The board members in attendance were Biro Patel, Moen Patel, Douglas Schneider, BOE President, Virginia White, Chairperson. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Bernard Bragan, Dr. Edward Adarelli. Others in attendance were Assemblyman Sterling Stanley, Mayor Sam Joshi, Joyce Ship Freeman, Council VP, Deputy Fire Chief, Office of Emergency Management Coordinator, Andy Toth, Sergeant Douglas Turner, Edison PD, and Ray Alcantara, Assistant to Mayor Joshi. Right, the business discussed. Assemblyman Stanley was just incredible. He said that the governor's priority for budget allocation is preschool and full-day kindergarten funding. There is a bill, NJA 1260, for school buses. Assemblyman Stanley confirmed that Edison will be a priority regarding this bill. This consists of GPS systems, and they can provide real-time information about the location and speed of our school buses. Assemblyman Stanley said that they will be setting up a think tank consisting of aides and legislative members and a representative, possibly from Edison, to secure future funding to resolve overcrowding issues. Okay, Mayor Joshi discussed the potential property in front of Thomas Jefferson Middle School that has no environmental issues that can possibly be allocated for potential Board of Ed use, which would be such a good thing. The Stelton School update was Mayor Joshi spoke to the commissioner of the DEP regarding transferring properties from Green Acres. A meeting is being facilitated between the Township Board of Ed and the Department of the DEP. That's where that house, where that property would come into play. I mean, it would be just a really great thing. In addition, the middle schools have provided wish lists regarding potential needs to be addressed. Sam Joshi and Ray Alcantara are creating a list of open office spaces that could be repurposed for BOE use. Andy Toth updated the committee regarding COVID-19 numbers, and Township administration is reviewing current mask policies. Thankfully, all those COVID numbers are on the downgrade. Sergeant Turner provided an update regarding traffic issues. This included progress updates regarding Floyd and Hollywood Streets and Amboy Avenue and Jackson Avenue. Additional signage is being placed around James Monroe, and that was also being discussed. Joy Ship Freeman inquired about beacon light costs for Woodrow Wilson and Edison High School, the crosswalks that light. And the Edison Art Society update was that there will be upcoming art exhibits on April 5th and May 12th. They plan on introducing the new gazebo in May, that's in Papiani Park. And they are also working on student scholarships, and they have sponsored this month's Student Arts Month exhibit at the Town Hall. I do want to go back to Sergeant Turner, okay? As far as the Jackson Avenue, the problem that we're having there with traffic. Oh, I'm sorry. I always do that. Forgive me. With Jackson Avenue, I think it started today, the 22nd. They're trying a different traffic pattern, and they're going to retrain or try to retrain, the parents with different routes to get around to the school. This should really, really help. I have to say, Sergeant Turner and Deputy Chief Dudash have been incredible with this. They've gone back and forth to JP, and they've also taken care of this. And we are, of course, looking, Maria, I always think of you and Edison High, where, we can't do lights because it would be like impossible, but we're trying, we're trying other alternatives. And as far as Assemblyman Stanley, he asked us to provide him a wish list for the district. And Dr. Bragan said that he would facilitate that list. He was very helpful and he was very supportive. And, I so appreciated his attendance. And I think, everybody that was at that meeting, came out with a very good, positive feeling. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Next meeting is April the 5th. And thank you for listening.
Board President, I will come.
Yes, I just wanted to add something that the Jackson Avenue thing's really exciting. It did start today. I'll default to Dr. Bragan, who was on site this morning. He'll tell you how well it worked. However, I'm just really happy these meetings do work, and the quality of life for the folks that are dropping off their children, trying to get to school, the safety issues involved. It's really exciting that we're moving forward with a plan. Dr. Bragan, how did it go this morning?
It went well. As Ms. White mentioned, Sergeant Turner and Chief Dudash were on site with 2 other police officers. and helped, it was much more efficient than it was, but you could still see that there's a learning curve, right? People have to get used to coming in the one way and going out the other way. They actually changed the direction that they were coming in, the driveway and the parking lot for Herbert Hoover. So it'll take a little bit of time. It was much better. End of the day was good too. And we did hear the residents that lived on Jackson Avenue were pleased. So hopefully it'll get that traffic in and out of there more quickly. It won't tie up their street as long. And in the time I was there about 25 minutes this morning. There were no trucks, which was a big improvement going down the road there. So
Yes.
kudos to everyone. It looks like it's, first day, and hopefully it'll just get better from here.
Very good.
Yes, Mr. Patel.
Yeah, so during the public comments today, I think someone mentioned about what is the board, how is the board working with the township, what is the township doing about it. First of all, Mrs. White, thank you for inviting me to this wonderful meeting, which ran over, but it was every single minute was worthwhile. So this meeting, the minutes are posted online on the board website. The achievements in this meeting, the items listed in this meeting is one of the testament of what township is doing for the board and how board is working with the township, right? Since January, President Doug Schneider is working in collaboration with the township very well. President Schneider and Dr. Bregan had multiple meetings with the mayor's office and the township administration, right? And everyone is working in collaboration. We just hope that this collaboration gets better and better for the benefit of that is Township Public Schools. And again, this Mrs. White is not going to leave her efforts. She's going to do this meeting every month and make sure, like she gave example about Assemblyman Stanley, more and more elected officials will attend the meeting, and hopefully we can get things done and achieved as a part of this meeting and the collaboration with the township. Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, Ms. Madiger.
Virginia, I want to ask, has the township now said that there would be no trucks coming on that road during school hours?
Well, what they did was Sergeant Turner, a few meetings back, had made the suggestion of possibly speaking to the businesses that are at the end of that street, the warehouses, and I don't really know what kind of businesses are there, but he was going to, put the idea out there that they voluntarily, monitor their traffic. Don't do it, for a while at the beginning of the school day and hold back on trucks at the end of the school day. And it's my understanding that they were more than happy to comply with that because they were having the same problem that the parents and the residents were having getting up and down that street. So they just hold off on their truck traffic during those two times, during the day. And we're hoping, today was the first day, so let's see what happens in a week. Maybe that's the answer, as simple as one neighbor helping another neighbor, so we'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully that's the answer.
So just want to thank you, Ginny, for your diligence and for your persistence. I've been with you on this committee since last year. I missed this meeting, and that's why, Biril, you got the opportunity. You're not going to get it next time, because there was something I just couldn't let go of. So just thank you for a job well done.
Thank you for being part of it. The liaison committee is an incredible group. I have always said that, and we're so lucky that, we have these people. Thank you.
Board President, can I add something?
Yes, Mr. Mohan Patel.
And the reason why it's such a great committee is because you are chairing it, and you have done a great job last year, and you're doing an amazing job this year as well. So kudos to you, and you definitely deserve all the credit for that.
Thank you.
People.
I concur. Now, I think I'm ready. Upcoming meetings. Committee of the Whole, Facility Improvement Committee, Wednesday, March 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Ed Center. It's open to the public, obviously. Again, a caucus meeting and public meeting. Everything pretty much is here at J.P. Stevens through September because of the renovation of the auditorium at Edison High School. So the next one is caucus meeting Thursday, April 14th at John P. Stevens High School, 7 o'clock. And the next public meeting is Tuesday, April 26, 2022, John P. Stevens High School, here in the auditorium at 7 o'clock. Great. We're now going to move to board member open discussion. So we've already spoke a lot, but I'm sure somebody has something to say. So why don't we start on this side? Mr. Mohan Patel?
Sure,
Anything to add?
Okay, thank you, Board President.
Yes.
All right, several things. First and foremost, I want to thank all the teachers that came out to address this issue, and I really appreciate that. This is showing you the incredible talent that we have in this town, and the teachers are amazing, one. Two, the administrators that had to work through this whole process. I want to thank you guys, because it's a hard task to do with the overcrowding and everything. Nothing against you guys at all. It was basically just to see if there's other alternatives that we can talk about. And if there are, then that would be great if we could work together to get that done. Another thing that I wanted to mention, I had the pleasure of going on Saturday to a great event that was held at Woodrow Wilson. It was the NHD, National History Day. These students, I was simply amazed by the way they were able to present, debate, and discuss issues that were historical events. And to me, I took honors history, and I still missed some of these points that they made. It's amazing that we have such great students and such great teachers that teach these students. And I was just discussing with our Supervisor Gail here in regards to some of the things. We teach our kids what to learn. We don't teach them how to learn, right? So I think that's some of the things that we are going to want to address. And it'd be amazing if all the parents got to see some of these presentations that were presented there. And I want to thank the advisor, Ms. Kushner. She did an amazing job with these students, and all the staff and everyone that was at that event. And I felt very happy that, you know what, we're sending our kids to one of the greatest districts in this state for their education. And kudos to the superintendent as well for doing a great job with the administrators and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patel. Ms. Peng.
Not much, just want to say a big thank you to all the teachers that came in tonight and speak on behalf of their students. They spend a lot of time, I know they spend a lot of time researching and even walk around trying to find classroom that bring up the Twitter schedule would probably get the students fit into the classroom. These are a lot of efforts, and they actually take their time to come here, spare time to come here and speak. And they do this all for their students. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biro Patel.
Yes, I want to talk about money again. So the negative tax increase, 0% tax increase, that excites me. That's why I keep talking about it, because hopefully the township does the same thing, Mrs. Schiff Freeman, then my taxes won't go up. So, but we're going to make sure that from the board side, there is 0% tax increase. Again, thanks to everyone. That being said, Dr. Bregan, whenever legally possible and allowed, if we can put that budget on the website. Now, a lot of questions do come up about the budget, right? The preliminary budget. And that's why this is called preliminary budget. And this is not a final budget. Final budget will be presented in month of May. I would encourage every single resident, every single taxpayer, that you have a right to know about every single thing present in the budget, right? And I would encourage everyone to divert your questions to Dr. Bregan. Superintendent Dr. Bregan has been very diligent. No, that's really. He's been very diligent in answering the questions for the residents, because we don't want social media discussions about those items and questions over there. And I believe if Superintendent Dr. Bregan has reached out about those questions, they will probably get a right and appropriate answer. So I would really encourage everyone to divert their questions between now and May. So everyone's questions is answered, and we have a resolution for that 0% increase budget in May. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Ms. Madiger?
So I'll be very quick. I just want to thank all the teachers and reading specialists who have been sending thank you notes, and some have also posted thank yous on their Twitter account. So just want to thank them for their thank you notes and for all the work that the children did, small cards and things like that for Read Across America. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Rivera.
Hi, everybody. Just a couple of things. First of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Valentine for recognition tonight. It was nice to, the one thing that stood out was service before self. It's still ringing in my head, so I want to congratulate her and thank the Coast Guard for coming out as well. Second thing I want to do is congratulate all of our retirements. You know, I saw there was 12 individuals there that served from 15 to 36 years. I just want to say best wishes to them all, and thank you for their service in Edison. I also want to thank the parents and the families that came out today for advocating for their children. You know, it's one of the things I wanted to see was more participation from the public, and I definitely think we got it today. So I appreciate that. Also, I was able to attend the same event. Mr. Shi and Joyce Ship were there, the National History Day showcase. Just wanted to thank Ms. Kushner for inviting us. The kids did a phenomenal job. So I want to recognize them and thank them for their efforts. And finally, I want to give best wishes to all of our students that will be taking the NJSLA these next few weeks. So guys, get some rest, study hard, and good luck with that test. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Shi?
Thank you, Board President. Yeah, I just want to echo what Mohin and Brian mentioned. We went to the National History Day showcase at Woodrow Wilson. It's conducted by the kids from JP and Woodrow. These kids just amazing. They not only took on the history, they took on some controversial issues. And I actually got a video from these kids. They sent it to me. It's so great. I told them to send it to me and Mohin to watch. The other thing is, right in the backstage here, last weekend, Mamma Mia performance. These kids just, blew it away. They're very, very professional. But unfortunately, the microphone piece did not work well. It's really insane that, we can't get these kids microphones with so much budget. And we're doing a disservice to these kids. These kids are just phenomenal. And the teacher, the directors, great job what they did. But hope that we can do better. Next month, I think Edison High is coming over here. I hope we can solve the microphone issue, at least for the Edison High theater kids. Right. Just one comment. This is politics. Edison is full of politics. We had, I got phone calls from people spreading rumors that our board president, Doc Schneider, is related to the candidate, Kevin, what's his last name? I don't want to butcher that. I don't think these rumors is really helpful at all. It will hinder the operation of our selection choice.
It's not true, correct?
Yeah. So
thank you. That would be important.
So I just want you to say in public that so we can put this rumor in bed. It's not going to help us, moving forward. So I just want to, public record. So say that's not true. So we move on, right? Because otherwise they will continue to come.
That's not true. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Don't be disruptive.
Is he ready for me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a little bit of information on the Parent Help Desk. This is a report of ticket activity from January 21 through March 17. All departments total 2,321 tickets. Total closed tickets, 1,893. Total open tickets, 428. So tickets closed, it's an 82%. Transportation had a total of 60. They closed 60, so they have 0 open, so they're 100%. Enrollment had 64. They closed 63. They had 1 open, and that's 98%. Food service, 2 tickets, 1 closed, 1 open, 50%. Special services, 1 ticket, 1 closed, 0, so they're 100%. Technology was 2,194. They closed 1,768. The total open is 426, and they're at 81%. But you know, technology is like so incredible. That could be a stuck key, a cracked screen. You know, those are like simple things. So, but we did include the parent help desk, and they added it on Genesis on a separate module for easy access, so that you'll be able to go through that. Because I know sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get through to the parent portal. So now there's an avenue. So this is, you know, the update for now. We'll have it again in a few more meetings, and we'll see how we're doing. But please, use the parent help desk. It's there for you. It should be a good thing. And I told you, Edison Township has one. We have technology. They have the human factor. So it should be interesting to see which one works the best, you know. So thank you very much.
Good, very good.
Board President?
Yes, Mr. Shi.
Jeannie, is it possible we can ask the, you know, the folks to give us a cycle time of how many? I know
How
the
long it
tickets.
takes
Yeah,
to-
yeah. How long it takes? What's the average?
Okay.
How many days that it takes to close these tickets?
I'll ask.
You know, see how quickly we respond to that. That's
Okay.
it. Thank
I
you.
know once they call in, they're issued a number, that's within a 24-hour, but then after that, it has to be addressed. Okay, but I will check on that for you, I promise.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Just again, to reiterate, March 30th, Committee of the Whole meeting. Really looking forward to Dr. Bragan's presentation. I think this is going to be a step in the right direction. We're working together, and we're really trying hard to come up with a plan that works for our taxpayers, for our students, our faculty, et cetera. We got to make sure that we all get on the same page there and move the district forward. So tune in March 30th, show up. Everybody's welcome. Moving to public comment. Okay. Miss Anita, welcome here.
Anita, I just wanted to, you know, give a couple of points and leave, but they said just stay.
Just pull the microphone up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you very much to the entire board for all that you do, for advocating for all the kids, each of you. I was just listening to the entire conversation about the bio class today. I do agree with the teachers. It's not the best feasible solution to cut the bio labs. Of course, you're compromising on the education. But on behalf of the taxpayers, I just want to let the board know that if you can get a short-term solution and a long-term solution for this overcrowding, because we have been through the cycle for a very long time. I know many of you don't like the WhatsApp groups, but sometimes there are good brainstorming ideas, and the taxpayers just came up with a idea that maybe we can extend the space to include more bio classes or more classes as a short-term solution. And as a long-term solution, you can build a new school. It is just an idea because this bandage solution might not work, in the long run. So it's just an idea. I know Board Member Moen is saying no, but it's okay. We can debate that. We can have a healthy debate. A couple of other things. Maria is advocating for the Edison Community Garden. There'll be a lot of volunteering opportunities for the kids in the future to come and, learn about gardening and composting and, planting all the plants. It's an incredible opportunity, which I think she's opening up for the entire school kids. And maybe the ecology clubs, after-school clubs, can get involved in this as well. The third thing is the summer camps are coming up. If you can open up through the municipal license any internship opportunities or any volunteering opportunities for the kids in the library or in the municipal court, so that they understand how the government works. They can go and, volunteer a couple of hours, if you can suggest that.
I will.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to give a feedback, because last time there were excellent programs in summer. If you could record those programs, because sometimes kids have summer school, and they can't attend those programs because they had study skills, biology study skills, AP study skills last time, during the summer time. If you can record that, and those kids who have missed, who cannot take it because they have summer school can watch, that'll be a good thing. And last but not the least, how many minutes I have? I'm going to end with a very non-traditional topic. And it's a small story for all of you. I was just sitting here, and I was writing the story. And this is how it goes. There was a great town, and there was a problem. And then the people saw the problem, and they all came together. They came together from different parts of the town. They stood with banners on the road and asked for solutions. They sat with the administration and worked solutions. And what happened? A miracle happened, and they found the solution. They all worked together. They respected each other, they complimented each other, and they are going to pass the legacy of the lesson to the future generations that if you come together as a community, you can make great solutions work. The name of this chapter is Charlie Brown and the Edison Residents. Thank you very much. I leave this thought to all of you. Thank you for the incredible work you do, and Mr. Ross as well for the incredible support. Thank you. Shine bright, Edison.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. I see Miss Orchid over there behind the podium.
I know, I was hiding behind there. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for everything that you do. First, I'd like to recommend the National Guard to any junior or senior attending any Edison High School. They have wonderful opportunities. Thank you to all the students who are watching. Make sure that you have a ticket for Edison's High Into the Woods on April 9th weekend. I need volunteers on Saturday, March 26th. For a beautiful Edison, we're going to clean up the area by the dog park. If any students need community service time, I'll be happy to, bless you. Happy to have you. That'll be Saturday from 8 to 12 on Whitman. There's a rain date of April 2nd if unfortunate weather occurs. I'd like to shout out to the car show and Clara Barton down the former Stewart's lot. They'll have a lot of events there for the children. For the week of April 18th, where we're going to be closed, we're asking beautiful Edison, we'll ask for a cleanup around the town. If you have any ideas of areas of need of help, and if you have any students that need to volunteer for community service hours, we'll be happy to have them. Please follow us on Facebook or watch the internet for further details. This is leading up to the celebration of Earth Day, which everyone is included to come and join us at Lake Papiani, and that's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also, as Anita was saying as well, please volunteer for the Edison Community Gardens Initiative. Please check the Facebook or the website for information. If you don't know, it's https://edisoncommunitygardens.org, or you can follow Edison Community Gardens on Facebook. Also, they're looking for donations if you'd like. Currently planning for 3 community gardens. The first one will be at Swales Park. That's next to St. James. And we thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Orchid. Thank you. Ms. Campione.
Sue Campione, HF for Court in Edison. One thing that I just wanted to mention with the electives, for this year, the Java was on there for 9th graders, but in parentheses, it still says that you have to take Python, that's required. So if it's not, something should go out to the 8th graders because they picked their electives, and that would have to get changed because a lot of them probably would not take Java because it says that they need Python. The other thing that I wanted to mention, as I have mentioned before, I serve as the chairperson for the ETEA Scholarship Committee, and I just wanted to be sure that all the seniors watching and their parents know that the applications are in the guidance office, and you still have a little over a month to get those in. There are 3 scholarships at each high school that we give out every year, so if you're interested, there's a nursing one, there's one for people going into teaching, and then there's a general one, so get to the guidance offices and pick them up. And I look forward and thank Dr. Bragan for approving. Tomorrow is a college wear day, so teachers have paid to wear their college gear, and we made announcements in the schools, hopefully that the kids will wear and see if they match some of their teachers and where they went to school, so it should be a fun day. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ms. Joyce.
Good evening, Joyce Ship Freeman. News already, Virginia White, someone sent me, the crossing guard sent me the message that so far so good on Jackson Avenue. So she was like really happy with that. And also, I had a great time on Saturday morning, I guess because I'm a forever educator, and I went to Woodrow Wilson School, and they had such outstanding projects there, and I was good to engage with them because some of the stuff that was history wasn't history to me. If you know, I experienced it, some of the things they had, but I engaged the students, I asked them questions and stuff, so the students really learned a lot from the information, and a lot of them told me different ways on how they obtained the information. So it was very, very good to see that our students were that engaged and they knew that much about actual history, and the topics that they picked were very, very interesting to me. And then I noticed on top of that that they had gotten an Amistad Award before, and as people know, I am an Amistad Commissioner. So I let the commission know of the outstanding work that Edison is doing at all times. So I showed them that I'm very, very proud of this place. And I just want us to keep on going because I believe without all the show and all the fanfare, when Jenny and I and the committee gets together, I think we get a lot of work done because nobody has to, you know, because we're not on television. So I think it's a good deal to keep that up. And I think that if we can do more like we do on the committees behind the scene, if we could do more of that in public, our students, our bright, brilliant students, will see us in that vein. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce. Mr. Venkat.
Thank you, Doug. Congratulations to JAMS principal, Dr. Valentine. She's our favorite principal. And Brian, AP Computer Science CA, if you look at how many ninth graders are taking it, you'll be surprised. At least 10% of your ninth graders are already taking it. My son already took AP Computer Science CA without knowing Java or Python, and he scored 5 out of 5. If you really look at it, AP Computer Science CA is nothing but Java. So when you know Java, AP Computer Science CA, it's only 8 chapters. In fact, it was much easier and it can be taught in 2 months. So I don't know the reason why Python, Java, I don't know. One of the parents has asked, we want more AP classes. You guys are pushing AP Computer Science CA that could be done in 9th grade. He's pushed to 11th grade. I think if you really ask tough questions that is it really needed, it's only a Java. So I think it's insane that when a kid can take APs in the 9th grade, we are pushing them to the 11th grade. I think that is the question that we need to ask. How many 9th graders are already taking AP Computer Science CA with Java? And for 17K per student that we are paying, why are we not encouraging charter schools? I think Edison is one district that don't have it. If you guys don't know how to handle overcrowding, let's move on to charter schools. And I think I would urge a lot of parents to come and start their own charter school, take that and get the permissions needed, because that's the only way, because you guys proven again and again that overcrowding is still going to be delayed further. And Brian, you asked me, Shivi and me, yes, we go for last 3 years. She knocked my door first time, requested for my vote, and me and my friends and voted. And the so-called social media that Dr. Bregan and you and all the people hate, she's the founder of all those WhatsApp groups. And she's the one who played politics with overcrowding when the referendum with Jerry Shee has proposed with Dr. Bregan. She's the one politicized it big time, if you really look into it. That's the history. And Shivi, you asked me that, oh, why are you bringing personal? I could have brought the benefits that your kids got while you were in the PTO, while you were in the board member. I didn't talk about it at all. I don't want to get to personals, but you are the one who's telling me that. As a person that I voted, I see, now she's not listening, if she's addressing it to me. Okay, it's fine. So she doesn't always distract how much she's working hard, working for 3 kids that are past 10th grade, 11th grade. So guess what? That's what I conclude, that she has a vested interest to serve along with serving on the board 2 times or 2 times loss, but that's fine. And look at the number of rows that are blocked. Even Murphy's meeting will not have this much space. For 8 of you, you need half of the auditorium. For 100 of us, we need the rest of the auditorium. Is that a privilege, Your Highness? I think that's what you guys needed. That shows that either you're scared of the public or you're treating public as untouchables. That's all I could conclude. And in all this, the AB schedule of the middle school, that was missed. I don't know whether it has been part of the curriculum, but I think, Brian, that a music teacher has told me personally in my social group that there is, similar to muscle memory, there is a music memory. If a kid don't learn that music memory for 3 months, the kid will be losing that music at all. So we at EHS and JP, we are winning a lot of music competitions, band and everything. The feeder program is middle school. If you shift to the A and B, that means you are sending the crap to the high school and you can forget about winning it. And I think I would save my 2 minutes next. Thank you.
Board President?
Yes, Mr. Shi.
Yeah, I forgot to wrote it down, so I forgot to mention it's this AB schedule. So is that a done deal for the middle school for AB schedule next year? Just do, are we doing like a 1 marking period, a 2nd marking period, or we do 1 semester, the 2nd semester? We decided on that yet? Is that a done deal?
The AB schedule is decided. How that's going to look for exactly which marking periods is still being worked out at the middle school level.
Okay. So if I recall, I asked at the last meeting when we actually first discussed this, my question was, is that across the board? Sorry for public comments, I forgot this. Is that across the board or it's just that for certain schools? Do we have an answer for that?
It would be like most things in the district, we'd go district-wide. But these questions, Mr. Shi, if you wanted me to have a concise answer, it would be helpful if you asked me ahead of time so I could prepare that for
Yeah, I
you.
forgot, yeah. So, all right.
So if you send it to me, I'll be more than happy to share an answer
Okay.
with you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sir, right, yes.
Thank you, Board Chair. Nick Fagan, Edgewood Road in Edison. First board meeting.
Welcome here.
Ever been. Thanks. I'll keep it short. I just wanted to say thank you, actually. As a parent of a 3- and 5-year-old that will be entering full-day kindergarten, thank you. That affects my family, and it is appreciated sincerely, and we will be able to go from parochial schooling to public schooling. And so we appreciate that wholeheartedly, and thank you. And we really look forward to the March 30th meeting. I haven't been around as long, right? And I'm just entering the Edison Public School family, so maybe I have a little more optimism. But I am optimistic about the the March 30th meeting. And before my 3- and 5-year-olds get to J.P. Stevens, that we will have new facilities, and we won't have to deal with canceling biology labs by then. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fagan, we all share your optimism. You're not alone. Ms. Conway.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. I have three things. The first thing is the very most proud I am of. I'm the chairperson of the ETPTAC committee scholarship program, which is the Philip J. Capilupo Scholarship, where we award a $6,000 scholarship to an Edison High student and a $6,000 scholarship to a J.P. Stevens student. So anybody watching this that has not applied for it yet, I would take advantage of it because it's a sizable amount. That's number one. Number two, speaking of students, I thought conversation had started regarding having a representative from each high school come to a meeting. It's March, so could we hope that maybe in April we would have some kind of, he's covering his head, representative from the two schools, because it's great having their input as to what's going on in the schools. So I would appreciate that if that actually took place. I know we had been doing it years ago, and it was rather interesting because the last year we did it, I was sitting next to a young man from Edison High who's Malachi White.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And he was representative of Edison High, and to see where he has come in the years following brought my attention that we really need this back to see our students coming through the district. So I'd appreciate if that could start again. And my last item is I have a question about the policy regarding the facility use. And I have no problem with it, but as this board knows, I like to check on every dollar that's saved or spent. And I know I appreciate using our facilities because we reach out, but at the same time, I don't want the expense to take over something else that we could be using the money for. It says that we're only going to be paying the custodial fees. So what I'm asking is how many of the schools are used for this purpose, and how much will it cost us to change the policy, and how much in the budget are we going to have to put another line item to pay for this. It's a great thing that, we reach out, and it says, my question, it says nonprofit language schools. Well, what other kind of schools could we ultimately, are there math schools, are there science schools then that could come in and just pay for custodial? I'd love to have them all, but at the same time, a dollar figure is attached to all of this, and I'd like to know where are we getting the money for this and how much is it going to cost, because we're talking about a lot more than just custodians, overtime, or regular time fees involved in this. So I hope that was a piece of discussion, and if it's just minimal and we're just going to eat it, I don't really think that it is going to be that minimal, to be honest with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. I think regarding that facility use policy, I think it's premature to really discuss the details of it. We discussed in committee. I reported that out because I think it's important to report out what's discussed. But at the end of the day, we do not have specific details. It was a proposal that was shared by Ms. Peng, and we're going to explore it. So obviously, we're going to have board discussion regarding that. That's not going to just be something we do without having some sort of discussion and approval.
Explore all the way, but how much money is it going to cost?
That's all things that we will obviously consider.
Board President?
Yes.
If I could just address some of that real quick. I'm not going to go into details as to what was discussed or whatnot, but just to give a little color to that conversation that you brought up, there are some languages that we do not offer in this high school curriculum, and these are some of the languages that are being provided as a service from some of these non-profit organizations. And if it actually helps us save money by them coming and teaching these students those languages, and we're not able to, or we don't have to provide those languages in our curriculum since we do not have the space, it actually is a benefit to our district for allowing these nonprofit organization and language schools to come in and teach the students the languages that they want to choose to learn, which are not offered by our district at the moment. It's actually a beneficial prospect for our district to allow some of these schools to come and teach. So if, for example, if we don't offer Mandarin in the high school and they want to learn Mandarin, they're able to come and learn that language, and it doesn't cost us a dime, and we're not taking up the space because it's coming on a weekend or on a night schedule. So it's actually a beneficial part for our district if we are allowing certain languages to come and be taught. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
We're good.
So, but we're saying, okay, so if we are going to offer that language, if we're going to offer that language, it's going to cost for the teachers to come and teach. If we're not having to do that right now, which is what's provided right now, it's beneficial to the public at that moment. So that's just a little color to the flavor that you wanted to add.
I look forward to a broad discussion and more robust dissection of the costs associated and the actual policy. I think it's something that still needs to be baked. The second point, I know you have 2 minutes left, but the second point you raised that, I'll think of it. I had another thought for you. The high school students. Oh, yes, thank you. So the New Jersey state regulation is September. We have to do it, right? So they changed the policy, and all the schools in the school districts in the state of New Jersey must put a high school student on. In districts like ours, they provide the opportunity for us to rotate between, if you have 2 or 3 high schools, whatever it is, they provide the opportunity to rotate. And I know, as far as I know, as board president, we haven't really had that in-depth discussion yet. So I don't think it will be happening in April. However, starting in September, it will be happening in perpetuity. It's a regulation that we will abide by, and I think that we all are excited about that. So if we could do it earlier, that'd be great, but I think the building principals and Dr. Bregan have to get together and figure out how we're going to do it, how those students will be selected, et cetera. So we'll get there, but we will get there no matter what, because it's our new regulation, which was just passed a few months ago, actually. So, Mr. Manesh Patel.
On my opening statement, I will tell you, I wasn't fighting you, Dr. Bregan. I was just merely saying what was said on WhatsApp. All right, let's get to the points. Number one is, somebody just said language. Well, if we are doing a nonprofit, how are we paying for it? Why are we paying for it? If it's a nonprofit, it should have been free. Are we giving school? Are they making money? Is anybody checking up on it? And what is our cost is? All right, that's the one thing. Mohin and Dr. Bregan, please have it ready for us for next time, because I will bring this point up. You know I don't forget things. So how many languages are we doing? Is it just one language, one organization? Or is it 5 languages? And are we giving credits to these students? Are they getting language credits? Because I believe years ago they used to give a credit if you did it outside. And I believe if you go to St. Joe's and do it, you get a credit. You guys have that paperwork worked out. I was just looking at this paper, and it says, JVC says we should have 3-year to 5-year plan for the music. Let me ask you guys a question. For the last 5 years, do I have to do Oprah to get how much money did you spend on the music equipment? Because as far as I know, last 5 years, they haven't bought any new equipments. And I believe my buddy Dina Cole is here. So if you guys got a chance after your meeting is over, take Mr. D, I'll join you if you want, and go back there with Ms. Gail and see how bad the equipments are. And then next week, take a visit in Addison when you go there for a meeting. These equipments are 20 years old, guys. It's a shame on us. It's a shame on us. We're talking about, let's spend $9 million here, $10 million here, but you can't give them $250,000 to JP and $200 to Addison? That's probably what, $10 to each house? You guys want $14,000 in taxes a year from parents, and you can't give their kids equipment they need to do the work. Jerry brought big, huge point for me. Theater. You said the sound system didn't work. It's not kids' fault. It's not JP Stevens' fault. It's your fault.
Okay.
You didn't give money for the sound system. When the whole goddamn world is on a digital platform, we got an analog platform. Our microphones are old because I used them for one of the performance of music. They don't even have 10 SM58s or SM57 that they need for music. They don't have even a boom microphones that they need. And you're telling theater can't perform right, or they didn't have a sound. Well, you should have got up that time and said, you know what? I'll propose $5,000 for the sound. Did you do that? No, sir. You're talking about cutting everywhere. Every time when it comes to asking for money, Jerry, she's the number one person who cuts on these things. And Jerry, you've been my friend for 10 years, and I know you
Address
well.
the chair,
We're
please.
not friends, okay?
Address-
Please stop.
I'm addressing the
Thank
Jerry
you.
through you.
We are not friends, thank you. Don't make it.
Don't make
Don't
me go
make it.
through the list.
Don't make it.
Please.
All right. Now, the other question I have for Dr. Bregan is, somebody just texted me, Hilltop doesn't have a JP Stevens bus. Is there a reason for it? JP Stevens bus does not go to Hilltop. For last 10 days or 15 days, they've been bringing kids in cars. Please look into it. Now, the $1 million question I have is, does our board have $80 million hidden somewhere? Are we hoarding money? Because I asked somebody this question a couple of weeks ago. Somebody put it on a WhatsApp. We got $11 million, Woodbridge got $20 million, and East Brunswick got $21 million. And that's because Sam Joshi didn't work hard. It's not just Sam Joshi's job, it's your job. Spend the damn money. You don't spend the money, state don't give you, county don't give you. You know that, and money's been hoarded. We've been hoarding money, somewhere between $60 and $80 million, and we haven't spent it. So, Mr. President, put those glasses on and look for the money. And you can't find it, let me know and I'll get it for you. But it's there, we're not spending the money, and that is why we didn't get enough money. And guess what? You know who's talking about this? The neighbors. They're the one who's telling me, Manesh, your Board of Ed does not spend money that they get. And that is why you got half a chunk of what the others got. So let's put everything in a straight line, work for the kids, because you're not, I noticed one thing. All the resolution passed. There is not a one damn person says, I'm opposing this. How nice is this? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Mr. Makropoulos.
Thank you for recognizing me.
Crystal, can you hold for 1 second? The person in the back, can you just move
I see
forward?
him, Mr. Patel. It's okay. Mr. Makropoulos, you could stay there, Mr. White.
You want to restart my time?
No, go ahead. We paused it. Go ahead.
No, I didn't start.
Give him a 5-minute lead time, all right? Thank you. There you go.
Thank you. The online policy for decorum is more censorship by the Doug and Shivi administration. They've been trying to censor people during their minutes. They misinterpret the law. They reinterpret the law. The law firm they hire doesn't give them the proper legal advice. They only tell them what they want to hear, which is very suspicious. So-called board president, you mentioned earlier, Jerry, please don't leave the room right now. You mentioned earlier he's not related to a certain individual that's running for BOE. And he also answered other questions. Why would he not answer the question if he's related to R.A. Schneider from the Bush Law Firm? If so, it's an ethical violation when you voted for him, and I believe the whole vote would have to be retaken. Are you related to R.A. Schneider from the Bush Law Firm? You deny every time you're not related to someone, you deny it, so I'm going to take that as a confession. Okay. Completely ridiculous for you to censor your own board members, what they can say. Why is that? Because you don't want certain board members to expose some of your corruption? I've been, for the committee of the whole, if I attend this meeting, am I going to be censored during public comments? Is Shivi going to just shut it down? When I have legitimate questions or concerns? That's absolutely disgusting. It's very disgusting we have a board member up there that was in association with the racist flyers against the Muslim community, Shivi Prasad Madhukar, Akil Malhotra, who also slandered the teacher. Fake news connected to Shivi Madhukar, Burrell Patel, and Sam Joshi have been slandering me using Edison taxpayer funds and handing over government positions to those slandering me. That's why you're laughing, because you know it. You have shares in TapInto along with AJ Patil. I just want to say everything that they accused me of is not true. It's a complete fabrication, and justice will prevail. And when everybody does come to find out and see the truth, they will see I'm being politically retaliated against. Absolutely disgusting what we do to members of this community just because they wanted to run for office. I won't speak anymore on that. You say the public may participate in accordance with bylaws and applicable state regulations. Some of your bylaws say you can't curse or obscenities. So, yet Cohen versus California, Rosenfeld versus New Jersey, the First Amendment says otherwise. You cannot keep putting policies in there such as an online policy for decorum. You guys continue to use decorum as an excuse to violate members of the public and our civil rights to speak. Scumbag is not a curse word or an obscenity, so I don't know why the lawyer kept on screaming out, obscenities are not allowed. Absolutely disgusting. If we still have time, you guys still haven't picked a board member. Virginia White, you're from South Edison. If you do the right thing and stop doing what your party wants you to do, but what family members want you to do, I think you should support me. I'd have one vote with you. Shannon, you have some integrity. That would be 2. Mohan, that would be 3. Jerry, yes. You should vote. I do want to ask you before our time's up if we are friends. You never answer my question. That's very important. Are we friends, Jerry? We'll find out today if you vote for me. So that would be a 4th vote. We only need basically, who didn't I mention?
B-Row.
B-Row has no integrity. He should do the right thing. He's not going to. He's going to do whoever pays him, whoever paid him. So, yeah, I believe Brian might have a little bit of integrity. We'll see. If Brian and Virginia do the right thing, we'll make history today. Otherwise, I'll know who the ones who didn't vote for me are. Shivi, I'd like you to answer why, when I come to meetings, it's a transportation meeting, and I want to ask a transportation question. How much did we cost the Edison taxpayers by Biral Patel? Biral Patel, did you answer that ethics violation yet? Because I haven't been
Address the chair, please.
Through the chair, I'm addressing Zero Integrity Biral Patel. Through the Zero Integrity so-called chairman, Zero Integrity Bureau Patel, have you answered that ethics complaint that completely went through? My ethics complaint completely obliterated him. Your taxpayer-funded lawyer couldn't even defeat the truth, logic, common sense. I mean, hey, the proof was your own words. You publicly admitted it, an ethics violation during a meeting. You basically snitched on yourself.
Time, thank you.
Mr. President? He's done, right?
Sure, go ahead. No.
Okay, I'm not going to respond to what Christo said.
You can have a seat, Mr. Makropoulos.
But because Mr. Mohin Patel interrupted and spoke my name in between, instigating a resident over there, I want to make a comment, based on that, Mr. Havnak and Sue and, Jerry, all of you, you guys should celebrate today. What a day it was, right? The same person who tarnished the reputation of the teachers heavily everywhere is saying good things about the teachers. It's a great day for you. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Mr. White. Excuse me, you're disrupting the meeting. Please sit. I'm giving you a minute to calm down. Please don't disrupt the meeting. Mr. White.
Thank you. First of all, I must say I'm still getting acclimated to just the intensity of everything, adult politics, and I must say that if only my peers and the young people knew just how hard everybody was fighting for them, and just, just the amount of passion that's been here today. It's been eye-opening for me, and Ms. Conway, I appreciate your nice words, and I'm just so glad, and now I understand why Edison is the way it is, because of the dialogue that is being had here, and everybody here on the board taking their time out, parents, people here taking their time out to try to get on even ground. But anyways, I had the opportunity to, I'm a mentor in the Lena Harris Foundation mentorship program, and our most recent meeting was last Saturday, and we actually had the opportunity to sit down with Officer Innocent, I believe is his name, and he is an officer in the Edison Police Department. And we have a lot of minorities in our mentorship program, and it was a very good opportunity for us to speak with law enforcement and to kind of break down that veil created by the media and what we see online, and maybe even some of our unfavorable interactions with law enforcement. And we got to ask them many questions. We got to learn that the police officers are humans just like us. And then obviously there are bad cops, but they're bad politicians, they're bad people in general. But that doesn't make every officer bad and every politician bad or whatever. But it was just a very good opportunity. I learned a lot about just law enforcement in general, and I look forward to continuing to serve my community in any way, shape, or form. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Board President, if I could just address something since he brought up my name.
Yes, Mr. Mohin Patel.
Just in regards to his comment, I respect teachers, one. Two, in like everything in life, there are some bad apples, there are some bad teachers as well. But in general, altogether, the teachers are great in our town, and I respect them. And contrary to what his belief is, it's not true. I respect all the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. More public comment? Mr. Revnek. Venkat, I remember you have 2 minutes, sir.
Matt Revnek, ETA Vice President. I guess I don't need to be psychologically tested anymore then. Okay, so anyway, I came up, first of all, Mr. Shi, and I happened to see him at the Mamma Mia. And thank you for speaking up, because it was very difficult to hear. The kids are great. I come every year to support my students. And I got to say, one other thing that I was very happy to see was almost a packed audience here. So after being away for the pandemic for the last couple of years, seeing the kids, a lot of kids came out, which even in the past I didn't see. A lot of times it was the parents and some staff and things like that. There were a lot of kids out. So it was a great job by the students and the directors and all that Mr. Shi mentioned. I also want to mention, first of all, again with the science, I'm not going to go into detail again about that, but there are some open classrooms if you look around. Period 2. I saw at least 3 classrooms in the upstairs that are open. I can tell you what they are later if you'd like to know. But I also want to commend again, the science teachers reached out to me about it, and my thing was, this is the way you proceed. They didn't know what to do with it, but it was totally, from them. I'm not a science teacher. I don't know everything going on there. I'm very happy with Miss Francesca Koval, one of my former students, and seeing her get up and, doing the research and stuff like that was great. One of the things I also want to mention, there was a great article in the Home News Tribune on Sunday. It was an editorial about shortage of staffing in schools. Everything from teachers and support staff and bus drivers up through administrators and superintendents. It's a nationwide thing. But we're especially seem to be getting hit hard here. And it goes back with that as well. I've explained that, we've become a top-down district where it used to be more bottom-up. Teachers were always a committee set up. If there was an idea out there, get our opinion. And, I've always said that you have a professional responsibility to express your viewpoint. But Dr. Bragan and Ms. Polakowski and Ms. Beninder and all have to, they get to pay the big bucks to make the final decisions. But when we're listened to, we feel respected. When we're a part of it, you can't argue something that you're part of. You're part of it. And you'll buy into it eventually if that's what the final decision is. So, it's something that, in coordination with that article and some of the reasons stated, it was very well written. There was a person that's a current principal, and she has some kind of membership in one of the principal administrators associations. And I read it and said, yeah, right on point. There's a few things I think are missing. But one of the things is, again, the respect. I hear people, hear the board and Dr. Bragan all compliment how hard the teachers work, and we do. In fact, the third most stressful job out there, you can look it up, is education, teaching. Air traffic controllers are number 1, first responders are number 2, teachers are number 3. And we're seeing it right now. Look at your board minutes, the number of people retiring, many of them earlier than they wanted to, the number of people resigning. I was on a phone call with someone driving down here who called me about how does he resign. And I tried to talk him a little bit out of it, but he's intent on it because things have gotten so crazy and hectic that they're looking for other avenues now. We're going to be to the point where, forget about class-based, you're not going to have the teachers to teach it, and we're seeing it already with the number of .2s and stuff. Teachers are being overburdened. We need support. That's what we're asking for. Anyway, moving on from there, I watched the live stream the other day. Obviously, I wasn't here in person. About the confidentiality, I know Tony DePasquale brought up about being information let out. One of the things you may want to consider when you go in closed session, collect everybody's phone, let them put it on a table and shut it off and grab it on your way out. Like we do with the kids during testing, for example. Or I was thinking the Wild West, leave your firearms at the door when you enter the saloon or whatever. May not be a bad thing. I know I went with something with a confidential thing that came out to bite me last week. So you know what, you think you're telling somebody something or doing something in confidence, you can't trust anything unless you secure it. The final thing I want to address, I think it's the final thing, military leaves, and it has to go back to the policy committee. It's ironic that today we have a nice little demonstration at the beginning. In fact, I believe the term used was a military-friendly employer. If I'm exact, my memory serves me right from 4 hours ago now. And then I read the board policy, and the policy says that we're going to go with what's there, not what's been the practice for at least 25 years, at least since I've been in the district, and I did the research on it. I spent the whole Saturday going through board minutes for the last 25 years. Okay? We also have contract language which specifically states military people on military, quote, leave, deployed or whatever, are entitled to full benefits and salary. So going and saying no at this point, it's just ironic that, you're being praising the military here, and as of April 1st, that's going to change. So I'm very disappointed to see that, especially when you see what's going on around the world. No one really, goes to attack the military. Not saying you're attacking them. I understand there's board policy, but that board policy hasn't been used, and it's not in coincidence with our contract, for example. I hope the committee comes back together and discusses it. I know I shared with Dr. Bragan. We sent him documents from the 25 years. And that wasn't only ETA members, that was all members, administrators included back in the day. I believe we have 2 right now, 2 that are military people that are, at this point, Mr. Pagel obviously is one of them. So I hope that the committee takes another look at that, because I think it's very discouraging to see that happen. Hey, we can always negotiate next year, and we can always talk about things. I know my time's up, but I have one final thing, and I don't know whether Dr. Reagan did it intentionally, but he's wearing the colors of my pin here for Ukraine. I don't know if he did it intentionally, but I observed it. With what's going on in the world, what's going on in that part of the world, to see some of the squabbling and really ridiculous things that people argue over when you see a country being devastated, and not only one country, those countries accepting, rightfully so, and in a humanitarian way, accepting the refugees, down the road, how are they going to be affected also economically speaking, everything else, and these people being displaced from their families? So think about it the next time you guys can't get along and argue. And like my friend says, pray for Ukraine. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Revnick. Do we have any other public comments? We'll loop back to Venkat. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for extending 1 minute to the ETA member. I hope it is not partiality. And the ETA member has brought up saying that Tony DePascal has given some investigation. Just I thank them, and that is where their reputation is at risk. The same Tony DePascal, Mayor Sam Joshi's puppet, is coming here, colluded with Bush law firm and texting Bush against your own board members. You should investigate that why the Sam Joshi's puppet is spying and forcing Bush law firm against your own board members. I think that is what ETA should be worried about, rather than talking about it's no common sense. It's a common sense. When you guys went to the room, in 15 minutes you should come out with a decision. Hanging there for more than an hour, I'm sure there's a deadlock. I think a third grader can say that there is a deadlock over there, rather than it doesn't need to be, school kids' maintenance. And from the online policy, I think I like that online decorum. I hope you guys will also follow that one of your board member walked with Mayor Sam Joshi in the election and got the leadership position in the BOE. So I hope you guys will continue that non-political BOE members will not walk with the mayoral candidate or a council person. So I hope they will limit their political attachment and keep BOE as non-political. I hope that will be taken care. And the last but not least, I think I'll come to Dr. Bregan. You will be blamed for the 10% of the staff, but don't forget that 90% of the staff, people will love what they do. So obviously, you don't need to take everything to the heart. Obviously, you don't need to be the bad person for this board's failure, for your admin failures. I am sure that you will get that blame no matter what happens because you're getting those big bucks. So obviously, we respect, and I hope you guys will work as a team rather than disjoint BOE team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to end public comment, please?
Motion.
Ms. Madiger, motion. Second?
Motion.
Mr. Patel, second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, we're going to adjourn to privilege session now. We have some work to do. It's possible that we're going to, it's possible we might come out and vote, so we might not adjourn from there, just letting you know that. Go ahead, Ms. Cluck.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Attorney-client privilege discussion regarding student transportation matters, Lincoln School change orders, and discussion of board member candidates. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Motion to move to privileged section?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Hi. There will be no further action tonight. We're still in closed session. There will be no voting items. The meeting will adjourn from closed session. Thank you.